Hello everyone and welcome to the finals for EGFH Season 1 in Overwatch. Today we are live from Yukon with the finals between the Notre Green Knights and the Woodstock Academy Centaurs. This is a rematch of last year's finals in the pilot season, with Sacred Hearts taking League of Legends and the Woodstock Academy Centaurs taking Rocket League. Whoever wins will be the EGFH Season 1 Overwatch champions. I want to thank our sponsors, the Yukon Gaming Club, the Yukon School of Engineering, HyperX and Controller Chaos for making this season possible. Be sure to check out their links below, and of course you can type ! Sponsor in the chat to get those links. Now, to get into the game, my name is Cavan, Navac, Dignan, and today I am joined by VicSharp. How are you doing?
I am doing fabulous. We are finally getting into the game, and I can't wait for this one. But first off, before we get in with this little intro while they prepare their defenses, map selection in this entire playoffs has been a little different in regular season, and we're pick banned rather than predetermined. As the higher seed in this map, the Green Knights got selection order, and the maps we are going to be playing in this match is Route 66, Nepal, Lunar Colony, Kings Row, Dorado, and Ilios awaits us if we need an overtime map.
Yeah, it's an interesting map selection. We should be seeing some very close things. And of course, on the blue team, we have the Notre Dame Green Knights.
And on the red side, it is the Woodstock Academy Centaurs, looking to be multi-game Season 1 champions, as Navac so wonderfully mentioned that they won Rocket League in our previous series. So this is about what we expected too, Navac, as we see the first offense come out here from the Centaurs.
Yeah, and I think it comes to no surprise. We see Blazing, of course, on his well-known Pharah, and Alex running that Widowmaker. Those two should be pretty much battling it out the entire match, just going back and forth, looking for those picks. And yeah, we see Winston and D.Va, so a bit of a dive comp coming out from the side of the Centaurs here, which is definitely interesting. You know, they want to be getting on top of that garage as quickly as they can, trying to deal with as many picks. And Alex does find aimbot there, which is a lovely little pick, just sitting on the back with Monk damage boosting him. And Blazing's going to have to play lower to the ground, probably playing behind D.Va, but Alex does find Mercy Bot. It's just another pick going to the Widowmaker. We need to see some pressure being put on him.
Yeah, and it looks like they have to back away, and Blazing got so low. And Alex, as you said, is just so free to hit right now with his positioning, and we actually see Haru on the Tracer not going kind of the tank that he's played in these playoffs, and it's working decently well, but they're finally getting on to Alex for a bit at least.
Yeah, we do see aimbot jumping in, but it doesn't take long for Reyes to just turn around and try and keep his Widow Mercy combo alive, but that does leave the payload a little bit open. Haru does use the pulse bomb there, not being able to find anyone, with them Blazing just trying to harass him. And it's interesting, we're seeing a lot of ults being popped, of course, from Overbutt here. He does manage to pop that Winston Primal Rage, jumping onto Alex, and D-Boy with that jump, finding him Blazing. That's not looking good for the Green Knights.
You say that, but off the point, they were finally able to kill Alex, and they took down the Mercy, I believe, as well. Or nope, never mind. Monk stayed alive, was able to get Alex, so as you said, it ends up not being well for the Centaurs. They get a 50-meter push, but nothing really spectacular so far.
No, and yeah, like we were just saying, the Centaurs kind of falling one by one. They need to regroup. We look at the ult economy right now, though. We do see D.Va Bomb and Genji on the side of the Centaurs with the Coalescence, and 4 ultimates. What do you think we're going to see in this next fight?
I think we're going to see explosive. We're already seeing Alex using that ultimate to get vision, but there's so many ults on both teams. This is gonna possibly tell how the next really minute and a half go, because if the Green Knights can win this, their defense is looking so clean.
Yeah, and as we were saying, here comes all of the ults from both teams. Of course, we're going to have aimbot with the Genji Blade looking to deal with Monk, which he does find it. Reyes managing to stop aimbot there, and actually does find Striker's mech as well, which is going to be absolutely huge for the Green Knights. And Blazing looking to try and get something, but Reyes just jumps up on top of them. The Riz coming out from Mercy Bot. He is going to find aimbot there, bringing that Genji back alive, letting him build the ult. We see the barrage coming out from Blazing, and not able to find anyone, but puts in a bit of that damage. Reyes falling off the edge, and that was a clean fight for the Centaurs.
Yeah, the barrage didn't find anything, but it didn't need to. Monk and Alex fell so quickly in that fight, and that's just going to lead to the first point take. We said that with so many ultimates probably going to be used in that fight, whoever won it was in shape. The Green Knights don't want to give it up, though.
Yeah, interesting choice for D-Boy and Nerdy there to jump on the point, and it might actually be not the best choice for them because they are going to get the point anyway, and we're going to see Nerdy falling down. They will get bad spawn as well, so it's going to take him a lot longer to get back. With Overbot finding Haru there, Eric Kwang managing to find D-Boy and Blazing. They're just kind of clearing up the Green Knights now. Alex still sitting back into that background there with Monk. Monk is focusing a lot on the damage boost. I think maybe he needs to start healing.
Yeah, it seems like he's really pocketing Alex and just trying to make sure any hits that this Widow gets take the target out instead of maybe just damaging them. But it is costing his team a lot because Nerdy just can't keep up on just the Moira. There's too much splash damage, too much going on from the Centaurs. They need that Mercy heal as well.
Yeah, and D-Boy and Reyes are just being overly aggressive right now, jumping in, maybe not getting the lines that they want because they jumped around the corner there. Alex could not support them at all. The coalescence coming out from Eric Kwang there, going to be able to find two people with it. Monk and Nerdy both falling to it. Of course, we're going to see Reyes and D-Boy just trying to flee, regroup with their team, but D-Boy is found by Overbot, and that's going to be just some free push coming out.
Yeah, that'll probably be point 2 given over there. Just as you said, D-Boy and Reyes being a little too aggressive, kind of not going with your team. Haru's actually switched over to the Genji, and just once again, the Green Knights are trying to defend when they don't need to. And this is just giving the Centaurs more ult charge, more momentum heading into this point 3 push with over 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, I mean, the Centaurs right now, I know me and you were having a chat before the game, and we thought this map was pretty much the Green Knights, but right now the Centaurs are clearly proving us wrong.
Yeah, the Green Knights just don't seem to be ready for what the Centaurs was pulling out this map. Like we've mentioned on the fact that Monk's Mercy just hasn't been good enough. He's switched over to the Zenyatta, just trying to find some way to be impactful, and they're just continuing to fight.
Yeah, we saw Alex switch over to Tracer looking for it, but real quick, we do see the D.Va bomb coming out, and from Striker it manages to find Nerdy and Monk. That's both supports down for the Green Knights, which means they're going to have to try and regroup, and D-Boy once again being too far up, but it looks like he is going to be able to get around and recover with the rest of his team. And again, I think we just see these tanks.
Yeah, the tank's just too far forward, like you said.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're trying to switch. They're trying to find anything now. This push is so far, though, with only 2 minutes. It's going to be hard for the Green Knights.
Yeah, and it looks like we do see D-Boy popping that Primal Rage, and we hear a Riptire coming out from Haru, and he isn't able to find anybody with it. Aimbot's just going off into their backside, though. We see the Dragon Blade coming out. One dash kills 2 people, and that's going to be absolutely fantastic for the Centaurs. D-Boy's going to fall down there, and we're going to see the ultimates coming out, and again, Emblazing's just sitting on it.
I'm out of here. ¿Qué onda?
Yeah, and Blazing with that barrage, gonna use it just to keep them away, it seems like. That was, for the way that started, Navac, that was a very clean push after they got a fight win.
Yeah, it definitely was, and they just kind of kept that momentum going. We saw the Green Knights just kind of go in one by one and just feed them ultimates, and the Centaurs just managed to, again, keep snowballing off of it and punishing them for the mistakes.
And honestly, Aimbot, we talk about him, Blazing. He is the MVP candidate on this team. Aimbot kind of went off once he started getting that Genji play under his belt a little bit, getting maybe a little comfortable. He found Monk, Nerdy, and Alex in just so many unfortunate situations.
Yeah, and they were saying finding those picks and getting into that back line just kind of paved the way for them.
So what do the Green Knights have to do, in your opinion, Navac? Because 1 minute and 50 in the time bank makes it very hard for them to win any tiebreak.
And we see Alex maybe thinking, okay, Widow's not working, right? Like, we know he's known for his Widow. He's not a bad Tracer either, right? But right now, they need to rely on Monk and Reyes to kind of deal with that fire up in the sky. Of course, Alex and Haru can do that, but it's much harder to deal with a Pharah with Genji and Tracer than it is with Soldier or McCree.
Yeah, and I think something to note, what we're going to see from the Centaurs defense, Mercybot's going to be a lot more actively healing on these first few points than what we saw from Monk on the Green Knights defense. And I think that's so key against things like the Genji and the Tracer, is as long as Mercybot can stay safe and kind of heal up some of that sporadic damage, it's going to be very difficult since Emblazing can pour his own damage down from above.
Yeah, and we're going to be getting into the second round here. And right now, the Centaurs are looking strong. So we'll see this initial fight break out with Alex, of course, going to look to get the flank. But Blazing, maybe Blazing and Mercybot playing maybe a little bit too far up. But they do come back quite quickly as soon as they hear the Tracer Blinks coming out. And what do you think we should be seeing here for the Green Knights to try and pick apart this team?
I think they need to find a way to break into what's going to be a ball, and Monk falling to aimbot is not the way to make that break.
And like I was saying earlier, Haru's looking to try and deal with him Blazing, but he's just not able to get enough damage on him consistently with Mercybot healing him. They need to switch off their DPS to something to deal with that Far Mercy combo, or if not, they're just going to have to deal with Farah's missiles, and they hurt.
Yeah, they need Alex on some kind of hit scan here. He is a good tracer, but that is not the way you beat the Centaurs. Win and Blazing seems to have brought his play to the land loud and clear so far.
Yeah, Striker being a little bit pushed up there, got flanked, but it didn't matter because the rest of his team was right behind him. Mercybot, again, like we were saying, very fundamental with the healing. Erikwang looking like he almost was about to get picked out, and he is a little bit caught off, but Mercybot's flying back as supporting your other supports is important. Striker loses his mech there and does go down to Haru, and it's kind of left to Mercybot and I'm Blazing here to try and hold the point for as long as they can. Mercybot falling doesn't look good for them. Do they come back? Or no, they did manage to buy just enough time for the rest of the team to get back here though. So they might be able to hold this point out and stall it. I mean, when you think about it, the time bank that is stored on the time of the Centaurs right now is absolutely huge. 1 minute 50. Any time that they can buy on these points is probably good for them.
Yeah, this is actually very close to the same time they took point A. It's actually only about 20 seconds, but they're gonna keep this even farther. Haru's just going in.
Yeah, well, Haru went in, and Blazing tried to ult there to deal with it, but I don't know if you ult a Genji who's getting dash resets pretty much whenever he dashes in. Of course, we see Reyes' bomb there, not managing to find anybody. We hear a Primal Rage being popped by D-Boy, trying to keep Striker and Overbutt just in that corner, and he does manage to find Striker, which is going to be extremely useful for them trying to hold this point. We see the Coalescence coming out from Nerdy, trying to do some damage, keep Reyes up. The Pulse Bomb coming out though, so it doesn't matter how much healing Coalescence is going to do because it's going to destroy the mech as quickly as it can heal.
Yeah, and a big thing from that fight, as we're kind of seeing now, the Green Knights are just kind of getting mopped up one by one as they got pushed back. There was two big things there, and it was that Mercybot saved the res, so even though Emblazon died to the Coalescence, it didn't matter. The res was up, Emblazon was back in, and secondly, the Green Knights didn't take the point, like what happened to their defense. So when the Centaurs respond, they didn't have to go as far. They were able to get back and get in position, and now there's only a minute left. The Green Knights are very far behind.
Yeah, they definitely are very far behind, and they need to be looking for those picks. I think right now they have to be looking for the supports on the side of the Centaurs, right? Mercybot and Erikwang are both doing so much healing that it's hard to deal with, right? And we still don't see any switches from the DPS on the side of the Green Knights, and we see Erikwang, she's popping her ult there, managing to get a bit of healing going, and the back door comes out. And I didn't even notice that. I was so focused on that fight.
Yeah, but
unfortunate.
Luckily, for the Centaurs at least, they did recognize it. You saw Striker come flying back in as that diva, and it does get the point. You know, it was so close. Striker almost made it in time, I should say. He tried, and that is lucky for the Green Knights, because now, as you said, 2.5 minutes on the time bank instead of pretty much overtime.
Yeah, and we hear Haru there popping the ultimate, but trying to deal with the tanks, which he just got picked off by, of course. You see Overbutt just popping that shield, and Genji can't do much once he dashes and doesn't get a pick. Striker finding Nerdy, Aimbot finding Monk. I mean, again, it's just pick after pick for the Centaurs right now. The Green Knights need to group together and just find those picks, right? We do see Haru switching over to the McCree though, which might be what the team needs to deal with I'm Blazing.
Yeah, the problem is, there's a Tracer, and Haru was introduced to that the hard way.
Yeah, Haru definitely was. And economy-wise, right? What do we see? We see Blazing with the barrage. We see Striker running, of course, self-destruct and the Primal Rage. And we see Primal Rage and self-destruct and Coalescent on the side of the Green Knights. And with all of them flanking up behind here, I think they were going to try and get something. But Overwatch's going to be able to find the pick that stand corrected, and Blazing pops the ultimate to find Haru. We see Striker's Diva Bomb coming out, and poor D-Boy hits his head onto the top of that door frame there, and it actually manages to stop him long enough for the Diva self-destruct to find him.
Get into position.
Yeah, that was a weird little set of plays because it looked like it was going to start off just fine for the Green Knights. They took down Mercy Bot, and not having that res, not having that healing, should have made Emblazon easier to take out. But they just did so much as a team, and as you said, D-Boy just kind of with an unfortunate head bonk, got himself taken out by the self-destruct. And once again, they're down under a minute.
Yeah, and they're only about halfway onto the next checkpoint, so it's looking rough for them. With Eric Kwang, and she's trying to deal with Reyes here, but of course Reyes is just looking at Unblazing, trying to get it. The Diva Bomb does come out. Interesting pick. It's not able to find anybody, of course, unfortunately landing right next to Overbar, and that, of course, Winston Shield stopped him completely. The Primal Rage coming out, and we do hear High Noon, which does find Aimbot. So this might be the push that the Green Knights need.
Yeah, they're trying to make it work. They're getting 68 meters and still pushing. They can see the door. They haven't taken Emblazon out yet. He's still going. Everyone else on his team has fallen down. I would imagine this is enough for the Green Knights to take this, because the Centaurs might try and just set up a .3 defense, but they're considering stalling this.
They are contesting this. Of course, we saw Aimbot there throw out the post bomb, and it wasn't able to find anybody. And Blazing falling to Reyes there is absolutely huge, as soon as he died, they did see that barrage come up to 100%. So that's very unfortunate for them. The Mercy ult coming out from Mercy Bot, maybe looking for a res, but obviously now she's not going to be able to find it so easily. Striker's mech calling out, and it does look like they're going to take this point in overtime.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate Valkyrie, I think, from Mercy Bot. I feel like was trying to res Emblazon as Emblazon was respawning.
Yeah. And I was going to say just real quick there, unfortunately for the Green Knights, even with that point in that extra time, they're still going to be behind the Centaurs in the time bank.
Yeah, the Centaurs really don't even have to necessarily hold this .3. If they can just get a stall out to overtime, they have a minute and 50 just to make some kind of, progress. They're gonna have plenty of a lead.
Yeah. And again, we're just going to see them all grouped up, holding this corner, not wanting to push Haru too much, as he has been getting a few picks with the McCree. And we see Blazing sneaking up behind him. He's going to look for that big ultimate, and he is able to find Haru and Nerdy, but Reyes finds Aimbot with that, which does stop the McCree coming out. But that was a big two-pick coming out from Blazing. A lot of pressure coming out from Monk, and it does actually find Blazing in the little corridor there. It's hard to escape the Lucio when he's dashing after you.
And once again, just another scrappy fight that's going back and forth. Both teams just kind of trading, and Blazing is now actually on to Reaper. He switched over knowing that overtime's progressing and his team's behind in just bodies right now, so trying to get in and do damage.
Yeah, and this Reaper could be absolutely huge. As you see, he's already got 23%. Oh, the aimbotting, I would say, coming out. Both McCree's popping that high noon, both finding two. Haru finding Eric Kwang and Blazing and aimbot, which is going to be huge. That's a big three pick, but they are in overtime now, so we could see Striker just ult the point here, and they will have to run away, right? So what do you do? Oh, the bubble coming out from D-Boy was absolutely huge there, as it's going to be able to keep the rest of the team alive. But, of course, we did see the Lucio barrage coming out from Monk, which also would have kept them alive.
Yeah, and now it looks like the Centaurs are just going to run onto the point almost one by one. It's going to require Emblazon or one of their tanks. We see the Primal Rage from Overbutt, and they're just forcing them away with the Diva Bomb. That's going to probably be a completed .3. It's so close they can see the finish.
Yeah, Haru, of course, having that high noon again. Overbutt jumping, but he kind of flew through his shield and went way too far. Got caught in the Deadeye. And now Emblazing trying to hold that point. But yeah, so that was close. I mean, obviously it went into overtime, but they were able to take the point, and they do have a minute left.
Yeah, the thing to note though is both teams struggled for the .1 capture though. So they both took so long to get through point one, which is expected when point one is always one of the better defensive holding spots. So the minute and 50 may not actually come into as much of a play there if they can do a similar defense.
Yeah, and we're going to see a bit of a Widow off by the looks of it. Aimbot is running Widowmaker, and I mean, it's Alex on Widow, so he's probably playing it.
Yeah, I would actually like to see this from Aimbot
Hello.
because he knows you'd have to expect Alex to maybe pull this Widow out after how much the Tracer didn't work on point one on their last attack. So Aimbot's only job might either be scouting or trying to pick Alex off in the Widow v Widow.
Right, yeah, no, and that definitely would make sense, right? Or even picking off Monk, so Monk can't just pocket Alex. I mean, it's going to be interesting here, and we still have Blazing on the Farah, so Haru's got to deal with that as well.
Yeah, I do like this start. Oh, Reyes, don't play with me. Okay.
Okay,
He's
okay.
pissed off. I do like this adaptation from the Green Knights, switching to Widow and McCree, and Alex wins the Widow.
The rest does come out from Mercy Bot, though, so if we could see, you know, a second attempt there. A little bit of an unfortunate. Alex took a very interesting peek there, and maybe, you know, Aimbot wasn't quite ready for it, which, I mean, he died, so...
But this is hard for Emblazon now because he's got 2 DPS that can actually deal with him, so he has to be very careful in his positioning, unlike what happened. And you can see already 37 meters in 30 seconds, and this push has kind of been uncontested so far.
Yeah, we do have to see something coming out from the Centaurs, and we do see Aimbot winning that Widow fight and the res coming out. Bit of a back and forth, I'm seeing a pattern coming. And Blazing does find Haru, though, so if he can find Alex, he pretty much has free domain over this fight. The ult does come out from Alex, though, which is going to give him some things, but Aimbot does find the pick. So maybe this is what the Centaurs needed to clear the point off.
And Emblazon has Barrage if he can look for a good use of it.
Oh, Reyes dashing into that, expecting the barrage to come out from Blazing there, and of course it did kill him, so that looks like they are going to be able to take that first point. We see MercyBot running, but of course they don't want to jump in by themselves.
That was actually such a good push from the Green Knights. They took point 1 in a minute. I think both teams took over 2 minutes last time. The Green Knights kind of capturing it with a back end, so this offense switching on to the DPS that can actually kill Emblazon and force him to position correctly has been a great adaptation.
Yeah, but do you think maybe Aimbot should go back to that McCree that was doing so much work? Of course, he's finding picks on the Widowmaker, but maybe the flashbang was just so crucial for the Farah ultimates because he was hitting Reyes with them. And Aimbot and Alex just kind of going off. Aimbot, though, managing to find 2 picks on top of the Diva ult, which does find Reyes, so... Again, it's very back and forth, scrappy fights, you know, pick after pick. Alex finds Blazing, but Aimbot finds Monk.
Yeah, the key thing there was Alex was res, so he's back up. MercyBot actually goes battle Mercy and takes him out, but that was so key. Alex got 2 more picks in that fight that he probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and I would imagine as the Green Knights trickle in, this might be the end of their offense, but I've been wrong before saying that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if MercyBot's not dealt with, then I definitely would agree, but Haru does manage to find... Oh no, I'm sorry, Monk! It definitely looks like Haru was there, but no, Monk managed to find the pick on Mercy, which is going to be very useful. Striker's ult coming out onto the point, of course, D-Boy's right on top of it, but he didn't have his bubble. That was on cooldown. Striker did get Reyes' mech, which is going to be huge, and Overwatch managed to find Alex in the backline, so that's 2 down for the Green Knights. And we're just looking at both of the tanks from the Centaurs, along with Eric Huang here, just trying to keep them alive, trying to get them off the point.
Yeah, and Aimbot's actually doing some work off to the side on that Widow, taking a lot of people down. MercyBot doesn't get the res off, but Aimbot has been on point with some of these shots. If Emblazon can just get back into this, they have a decent shot to maybe hold this right here.
Yeah, but Alex coming around that corner does find Striker and Blazing and Aimbot. So that's 3 huge picks for the Green Knights, which is going to let them just push this payload further and further. It's in overtime right now, right? So whatever they get is good for them. You know, every little bit increases their chance of winning the set.
They definitely have to stay on point, though. This has been in overtime for so long that the second anyone leaves the payload, that bar is going to disappear faster than you can blink.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, and if they're not contested here, they might just get the second point for free. 2 meters, 1 meter. Yeah. So, brings them to 5 points. It's going to be so much harder now for the Centaurs to be able to do it. And Alex is just going off. We see Striker in Mini Diva trying to deal with Alex, but when you jump in as Mini Diva to a Winston, a Moira, a Lucio, it doesn't end well for the Mini Diva.
And something to point out is that Blazin has been shut down for almost that entire second point. Every time the Pharah tried to go in, was immediately taken out. He has been sitting on this barrage, I believe, for half a point, if not more.
And that's definitely not good from Blazing, right? You want to be getting those barrages out as quickly as you can so you can get more. You know, every minute you're holding onto an ult, or every second you're holding onto an ult is percentage losing towards the next ult. And Alex just finds him.
Yeah, again, he looks for that barrage and just goes down, and they don't even force him off the point. You would think with the barrage and the primal rage, you can get them off of the point, and they're trying with the Diva self-destruct anything they can, but this push has been so good from the Green Knights.
Yeah, the Green Knights are just, they're sticking to it as much as they can, right? With Nerdy and Monk, and even Haru all playing those very maneuverable characters. Blazing, you know, like we were talking about with the ult management, Blazing kind of thinks, okay, my Pharah's being shut down, let's play some Reaper, hope it works better. Alex popping that ultimate, of course, being able to see everybody now is going to make it much easier for his team to coordinate who to pick on, who to go after. Mercybot's Valkyrie does finish there, and it's a bit of a Widow duel coming out. Aimbot finds Nerdy, and we see Overwatch switching from that Winston to Reinhardt, which could be an interesting pick, you know, looking for those CC ults a bit more, trying to get a big Earth Shatter into Striker's self-destruct.
Yeah, the Death Blossom comes out, doesn't get much. You can tell the Green Knights are just happy to get what they can now. They're just trying to stay on point, do what they can. They know this push is probably ending shortly, so they're just trying to get every little bit they can.
Oh, and it was so close to finishing there, but Haru, okay, there we go. Haru, though, I don't know if you saw that, it was like a pixel, and Haru managed to trace a blink onto the point and reset it. I think, and I don't know if you'd agree with me, Pharah was being shut down, right?
Yeah.
So, does Blazing switch to the Winston and run triple tank to just try and stick onto that point as much as they could?
I don't think so, because I think Overbutt's going to stick with the Winston here.
Well, I meant more so that round when Overbutt switched over to the Reinhardt. We know that Blazing plays the Winston. So do you go triple tank to try and force them off the point with more big tanky CC ults?
Hello there.
I think it could have worked. I do agree. He might have stayed on the Pharah too long in that push. The fact that he was shut down for an entire point is pretty unreasonable for the Centaurs. They really need him performing. So maybe switching onto the Winston, or maybe just going to the Reaper a little sooner and trying to see if that worked.
Hello there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And also the interesting ult coming out from him on that Death Blossom, he saw Reyes, right? He saw Reyes standing there, hadn't been harassed, so you'd presume, you know, defense matrix is up. Do you really Death Blossom point blank in front of a Diva? It just it seemed a bit of like an interesting choice.
It felt like Emblazon was trying to force things a little bit on that defense.
Yeah.
You know, they maybe felt like, oh, they only have a minute, we'll be fine, and then they started to panic a little bit as the Green Knights offense went rolling. Because we have to remember, they had a minute, and they got 2.5 points.
They almost finished the map in a minute. Well, with overtime.
Enemy spotted.
But we'll have to see, you know, Emblazon obviously gonna stick onto the Pharah for the offense, and hopefully if he can show up, this still could be a very competitive offense here from the Centaurs.
Yeah, and like we were saying, though, we see Alex and Monk just sitting into the back again, being damage boosted, and that was what we would say probably was their fault that first time they were defending, so it's going to be interesting to see if it's just... And a Blaze getting a lovely click on Monk and Nerdy there. That was a gorgeous ult. Alex actually managed to sneak around to the side, and nobody seemed to notice other than I'm Blazing, who does actually fall. Striker following up very quickly. They pushed a lot within 30 seconds.
Absolutely, 70 meters, almost that first cap, and they're actually going to use the res on Emblazon. That's pretty much 0.1 in a minute, which is maybe even faster than the Green Knights had just done it. So that was a very impressive offense from the Green Knights, but Navac, we're not done yet.
No, we are not. We still have about, I don't know, what would you say? About 60% of a map to go. So... It's still a minute and a half, 60% of a map. That's a lot of map.
That is, but we saw the Green Knights do it in less, and I've seen some very convincing offenses from the Centaurs this season, so if any team could pull this off, well, maybe not with Emblazing going down that early.
Right, and like we were discussing, and Blazing has been having issues on this middle point, right? Does he switch over to Reaper now and switch back to Farah on that more close encounter area? Because they were having more issues dealing with the Farah in the more enclosed space. But in this middle bit, they've just been dealing with him so well that is it worth keeping him on that Farah?
We'll have to see. I feel like they might keep him there for one more barrage. He is at 77% on that ult charge, and that was when we saw him switch off on the defense, was right after his ult, when that charge doesn't get wasted. So,
oh, and we do see Reyes popping that ultimate, not being able to find anybody there. And I don't know if you were paying attention, but Haru tried pushing the cave and actually flashbanged and Blazing, and just wasn't able to find the kill and got punished by it. And Blazing now sneaking up to the side. Alex isn't actually aware of it as he does get knocked down by a hit with the direct missile, and immediately flicks onto him, Blazing, and finds him. Coalescence coming out from Nerdy, managing to keep both of their tanks alive, and they pushed it. Both Diva Bombs coming out. Striker's finding 2, but Reyes is only finding 1. We see the res coming out from Monk, bringing D-Boy back, kind of negating that Diva Bomb a little bit here. High Noon coming out from Haru, and of course we see the bubble coming out from Overbutt, but if there's enough people in it, it's not going to block everybody. Oh, Haru's High Noon finding him Blazing. Was that a communication issue? He came around the corner, wasn't paying attention, ulted, and then that's going to cost them an ult and a bunch of time, and maybe even this match if aimbot doesn't get on the point.
wow. I think that's all we can say about that overall map was just wow. I mean, it was so back and forth, and then Alex, something about that middle point. Haru's going to get play of the game, but Alex in that middle point was absurd.
Yeah, I'd say Haru did a huge play here, right? Finding Eric Kwong and Blazing and aimbot, you know, was huge, because that was that last push to get them to that point.
Yeah, without that push, we don't even have the chance for the Green Knights to have that amazing 1-minute offense. So it really was Haru on this McCree and Alex on his Widow was what carried the Green Knights through this, because Haru's High Noons were on point. His Deadeyes were finding pick after pick. And meanwhile, Alex, we know he's a solid Widow. His flick reaction time in that map was actually absurd.
Yeah, and I'd like to shine a bit of a light on Reyes as well. Those Diva Bombs managed to find some of the, I'd argue, some of the most crucial picks at the time.
Yeah, and the zoning ability. Both Striker and Reyes were using that Diva Bomb as zoning almost as much as trying to find kills with it, but they were both shooting them so well. The arc on the bombs, the timings, that was some of the best Diva Bomb placements I've seen this playoffs.
I 100% agree. And with Route 66 going towards the Green Knights, which was sort of what we predicted when we were talking about who we thought who was going to win which maps, and Nepal coming up, again, how close that was. I think this could go either way.
Yeah, and it really can. Nepal, as we were talking about this before, Nepal feels like the X Factor map in this entire set. Especially with the Green Knights taking Route 66, because we all know what's coming up in a few maps. King's Row for the Centaurs has been almost unstoppable all season. So they really want to make it to that fourth map, but they have to get through Nepal to get there.
Yeah, and again, like we were saying, this being kind of, you know, the linchpin of this is if they end up 2-0, do the Centaurs start panicking even more, right? Because it is a best of 5 set. I don't know if you've addressed that. And with it being a best of 5 set, if it's 2-0, you have to win all 3 games. You cannot give another map.
Yeah, and in a LAN scenario, that can be one of the hardest things, is added pressure. When you're already delayed, when you're already having this new environment, you don't necessarily want added issues. Now, one thing to note is Nepal is not the best Widow map on a couple of its points. So this really is a chance for Emblazing to maybe try and find some ways to get some freedom that he didn't have on Route 66.
Yeah, and we did joke about in that pre-game chat, maybe we see a Bastion on one of these maps, but I never thought it was going to be Nepal. If they do keep that, we could, I mean, I don't hate that team comp. I could see it working on this point. You get D-Boy and Alex onto the point in an emergency situation. Haru throws out a blizzard. You know, you have Reyes to hook them off if somebody pushes behind the Orisa shield.
And Blazon is also on a Mei. We have a double Mei.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just gonna say it's gonna get chilly.
From afar.
Oh no, not. We're only on map 2, Navac. Come on.
I couldn't help it. You know, it's snowing Nepal. It's a bit frosty, and we see Haru putting up that, completely splitting the team with Striker being picked by Reyes. That's a huge pick at the start of this map, and it looks like the objective is almost immediately going to go to the Green Knights. The Ice Wall was good. It split the team up. It made it so that Striker had absolutely nowhere to go, and with Alex just sitting in that corner, he's dandy, right? He doesn't care. He's gonna find pick after pick as they try and rush in. They're just gonna make hook Maywall, Bastion. That's their strategy, and it's working for them.
And Alex can just keep changing corners depending on the attack angle that the Centaurs are trying here. Between the Maywall and the Res, it's going to actually be nearly impossible to stop this Bastion.
Alex actually pushing forward because he just wants to kill Blazing that much. We know that Alex and Blazing have a little bit of a rivalry. Prior to the game chat, they were joking about not playing Widow or Pharah. So, obviously that didn't play out. So, you know, maybe looking for a bit of revenge.
Yeah, the big thing to note here would be that Emblazon has the Blizzard and he's going for it. They just need to find Alex.
Yeah, and they do find Alex. D-Boy managing to just walk out of that Blizzard with the Arista CC immunity, but it doesn't matter because we do see just picks. That Coalescence was fairly handy, keeping his team alive, and we do see for the first time the point switching over to the Centaurs.
Yeah, this has been one of the more interesting just controls I've seen in Double May, and actually Aimbot has had his sights on Haru for most of this point so far. He has done a fabulous job making sure this Mei cannot do anything.
Yeah, and I mean, we even just saw Alex throwing the, Haru throwing the mail coming to try and deal with them, but it didn't work, so they switched over. We see him on the more traditional Tracer Genji, you know, that we kind of know him for, and with Monk and D-Boy still on the Mercy Orisa. Do we see Orisa switching, or do they keep that kind of stationary shield with two flankers?
It seems like D-Boy is going to at least stay on the Orisa for now. They may need to switch it up, though, because right now the picks coming out of the Centaurs has just been so good. Aimbot has actually been amazing so far on this point. He's taken down Haru and Alex just kind of time after time.
Yeah, and there we go. We do see D-Boy deciding maybe it's not worth keeping the Supercharger. The Winston might be needed. Bit of Primal Rage. And Blazing again has the Blizzard already for this next push, right? They haven't even been able to step on the push since his last ult.
Well, and it's so big the fact that they've forced the Green Knights on these switches because the ult charge is such heavily in favor of the Centaurs with so long on their heroes so far.
Yeah, Overbot finding a three-man shatter there, managing to pick off Reyes, Nerdy, and I believe, I'm not sure, it might have been Haru as well who they brought out there. We hear the Heinen coming out from aimbot, but nobody's around to be seen. It does cancel it. 10% left, of course. We need to see the Green Knights getting onto this point if they want to be able to contest it. But if Haru gets picked off here, I think it's better, like, yeah, I think it's impossible for them to even get on the point in time.
Absolutely, and it was. And D-Boy was focusing on aimbot and gets taken down. That was such a good turnaround from the Centaurs because that looked for 50% so like the Green Knights had this figured out. They had the Bastion, they had all of the shields and all of the zone control, and it just didn't matter. The Centaurs seemed to have practiced this strat so well. They knew exactly what Emblazon needed to do on that Mei.
Yeah, I mean, they, you know, like you were just saying, they knew exactly what to do in that situation. And if they hadn't had the Mei, I don't know how they would have been able to take that point from that setup that they had.
Oh, absolutely. That first Blizzard use was so key. It just stunning kind of everyone on the point. You said D-Boy got out of it, but he was practically the only one. Emblazoned is on the Lucio.
Maybe he's looking for those environmental kills, you know?
Well, it's actually they moved Eric. They moved their normal. Yeah.
Yeah, she's playing Genji now, and Striker and Reyes both go down, but for different reasons. If Reyes finds that environmental kill, and Striker shoots him in the face as he gets pulled.
But that's actually big. They did get the advantage, even with losing one, so this should still be first cap to the Centaurs, even if they're gonna pay for it.
Oh, and D-Boy, so unfortunate there, and Blazing actually getting behind the Orisa and just booting her into the environment. And they've managed to keep the point even after taking a few picks there. Overbot left on the point by himself, but Striker does get there in time. Hook after hook is going to make his no environmental kills happen.
And 17% is actually very good, considering it looked like they were just going to cap and then immediately lose it. And Blazing's actually been a pretty decent Lucio so far, and Mercybot actually switching onto Moira. We've seen this setup from the Centaurs before in the playoffs, but it hasn't been very successful.
Well, maybe they've been practicing it. If we've seen it once, then they definitely want it to work, right? And they are, like you were saying, pushing with that triple count. Air Klong now offered the Genji, deciding not... I believe she was about 70% to Blade, so that's a little bit interesting for her to decide to switch. Almost getting nerdy. The High Noon coming out from Alex, but it just gets eaten by the Mercy. The second High Noon coming out from Aimbot. Not able to find Monk as they just peek around the corner. We're having a bit of a Genji off, but Aimbot does get picked off by that ult from D-Boy. Coalescence coming out from Nerdy, just wanting to keep D-Boy alive. Monk jumping in there, trying to res Reyes, but they're not going to be able to find it. The Riptire being damage boosted, looking for the squishies, does find Mercy and Eric Fong, which is going to be unfortunate for the Centaurs here. The ult coming out from Blazing, kind of by himself, only catches Overbar. Interesting pick, but maybe just trying to keep hold, right? Catch up in that percentage, but they looks like they are going to lose the point.
Yeah, and Blazing spent most of that fight just trying to toying with D-Boy, running around him, trying to keep that Orisa busy, but it doesn't matter when the Orisa has so many different ways to impact the fight that even with Emblazing being a pain, it was still a really good fight for D-Boy.
Yeah, and then Blazing, of course, falling to Alex, maybe playing a bit too aggressively, looking for those boops. Again, I don't know if putting Unblazing on, this is a good Pharah point, right? Like, you get concussions, you get, oh sorry, concussive. You see another High Noon coming out from Alex. I'll go back onto my thought train in just a second. Is he going to be able to find anybody? He's going to be able to find Striker's hook that manages to bring him out of that High Noon. Oh, economy-wise, we do see the Centaurs probably looking at, there's the Supercharger, the Coalescence coming out. The only thing that we haven't seen is Striker's whole hog, which they might be saving for a more favorable position.
Yeah, and they might not even need that because they should have this point easily without it. That Supercharger doing so much work. And it's 88%. This point has been back and forth. The teams haven't been able to really hold it for long. It's just that the Green Knights have held it for longer when they've had it.
Yeah, they have made, yeah, and it's not been like you were saying, like 50 seconds difference, right? And that's been over multiple pushes, so they're probably about 20 seconds longer each time. Harrow popping that ult after getting a bit of information from the rest of his team. They're just going to push around. He's going for the long game as he's looking for as many as he can get. He manages to find Mercy Bot, which is going to be a big pick coming into the next fight. With the Centaurs being down, one Striker almost falls off to the D-Boys ult there, missing the hook as well, but they're not going to be able to find it. Supercharger coming out from the Green Knights here, and they're just going to do exactly what the Centaurs just did. Supercharger and just push with all of that extra damage.
Yeah, and once again, Emblazing may be thinking he's playing something that does damage because he was in the back line against like 4 people, but the Centaurs aren't ready to let this go yet. They're trying to hold this.
Yeah, and a lovely boot from Blazing comes flying around that corner, knocking Reyes, drawing Quahog just into the pit.
I think if they were ever going to switch, though, if Emblazing needs to get off the Lucio, he has to do it now because this is pretty much final push here. Any off the point ends this map, and he's just getting taken down again a little too far forward.
Yeah, and Overbot had been looking at Alex for a while, should have known that the Red Skull was on their head, and they pushed further than their shield, so maybe they just didn't quite realize how far ahead they were. Reyes looking to try and grab Aimbot off of that side with the Roadhog hook, but they're not going to be able to find it, and with this overtime, 99 going to the Green Knights, it looks like they are going to be able to take it, and that brings it to a 1-1 point. It's still anyone's game.
Yeah, I think the strategy that the Centaurs obviously had in mind there and had prepped just kind of didn't work on that point. When your best player stays on the Lucio for an entire map and really just seems to be doing it for environmental kills, that's not a successful strategy to win a close point like that.
No, you're at the finals, right? You've played through this whole series. Environmental kills are fun, but it's again, I don't comprehend, right? Pharah is such a good pick on that point because she can hold strange angles and still get lots of damage in whilst avoiding hit scan. So why switch to the Lucio?
And this is actually interesting, Navac. We see Haru on the Pharah, whereas Emblazon's on a Zarya. So once again, kind of showing his versatility, but not going to the Pharah on a point that we might have both expected.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Emblazing picking some weird heroes right now, and if it works out for him and his team, that's really good. But you've got to wonder if that's communication coming out, because right now Alex is running the show, right? Alex has managed to find pick Haru, and Blazing's looking for something, but Haru doesn't care if Zarya gets charged because Haru knows Zarya's gonna die when she's caught off by herself. So shoot through the bubble.
Yeah, and you know, once again, the Green Knights just seem to find the better first fight and have point control already ticking up. I need to see something from Emblazon. This Zarya needs to impress me, otherwise it's gonna really be a big question mark of this map, of where has the Pharah gone.
Yeah, because when we came into this game, if we were to look at star players, right, like star potential, we see like Haru, Emblazing, Alex. Like, those are the three in this game that come to mind if I was just looking at the roster. And to see Emblazing playing like this, I'd say is very questionable.
Yeah, and Reyes is quietly having a fabulous kind of map himself. This D.Va has been so key and so good. He's providing the front line for Alex and Haru, but also just being a pain to every single person on the Centaurs.
Yeah, and if they got a Pharah right now, Reyes would be, or if Emblazing switched over to Pharah, Reyes would be the only person who'd be able to deal with them unless Haru was able to hit some aerial missiles. So it's, I don't know what to say. Haru going for a very aggressive, like just kind of stepping his boundary barrage, and he does get punished for it, but not after finding one person. Monk's wings are out healing all of his team. Reyes, of course, has that ultimate, trying to lure them in a bit closer before she decides, or he decides to pop that ultimate. The bubble coming out, and both D.Vas popping their self-destruct. Bubble does full striker, managing to find Reyes and Nerdy. And again, that was a good ult. This might be what the Centaurs need. We saw the Graviton Surge coming out as well at the start of that fight, and it caught some people, but of course with the Winston, the bubble kind of protected them from a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but looks like they are going to be able to take. They took enough people out. The self-destruct and the Graviton Surge combo is actually really good if timed correctly. That's probably one of the harder combos I can think of to time with the Graviton Surge, but it was good from the Centaurs. They got point, but the fact that it took them 90% to finally maybe stack those ults and find a push that worked is telling.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much exactly how I would have thought about it as well. And we see the Primal Rage coming out from Overwatch, trying to push the people off the map, right? They want to try and keep this point. They are so much percentile down. The High Noon being popped off onto the side by Aimbot, but Reyes is on them instantly with the defense matrix, completely denying it. Eric Kwan popping the Coalescence, trying to keep everybody up, trying to do some damage here. The Pulse Bomb coming out, not finding anyone, and Haru does fall to the Coalescence, which is going to be fairly important pick. Alex finding Mercy Bot, so that means no res for the side of the Centaurs.
Yeah, but they were able to hold, and that's just kind of what they have to do right now. They have point control. They're still 30 to 40% behind. They just need to do what they can and not get off point like this.
Yeah, and again, they just pick the strangest kind of ways to push forward or be maybe slightly overly aggressive, you know? They see some potential. Aimbot finding Haru again, right? We're not going to see that Reaper dealing with this triple tank, and that's very important with Overwatch getting very close to that. We see the Graviton Surge coming out, managing to find Alex, but if they can't kill Alex in that time, which they do, it would have been useless. You know, both Primal Rages being popped here, left to Arm Blazing and Overwatch just trying to deal with this point. A bit of a back and forth duel coming out from the Winstons.
Yeah, but there's a Death Blossom for Haru, so they actually need to be very careful how they deal with this Reaper, because that Death Blossom could absolutely do a lot of work if he times it right.
Yeah, I mean, Monk's now popping the wings as well, trying to keep the team up, and Haru's going to be able to find a couple picks there. He did pop the Death Blossom, which didn't find too much, but he is able to harass the rest of the backline. Nerdy falling to Aimbot with the High Noon. And again, we're seeing it now, right? We're seeing D-Boy and Reyes kind of pushing that backline like they should be, but maybe it's not enough with Aimbot finding Alex there. Again, Reyes finding Aimbot. It's so back and forth and so scrappy that both of these teams are so evenly matched in so many ways that it's interesting to see how they're played, and any single ult from anybody could completely swing the game.
Yeah, but there is one key thing in this fight, and it's that Haru found and took down Emblazon. Emblazon finally switched to the Pharah, only to get taken down by the Reaper. So Haru, kind of off to the side and not even thinking about it, won that final fight for them.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Haru switching to that Reaper, he got picked off 3 times before he was able to find something, but when he did find something, he just kept going, you know? And again, we're going to see Mercybot with the ultimate here. This was a lovely coalescence, managing to not kill anybody, but the health and just the pure damage coming out, managing to harass managing to harass Mercybot enough to just back them out and reduce the healing coming out from Valkyrie.
Yeah, and that was such a close map, back and forth. It looked like the Centaurs might have actually been able to finally hold on that 3rd point. But now we're heading to Lunar Colony. It's the assault map. And this is what we were kind of concerned about when we talked pre-game, Navac. It's 2-0 Green Knights.
Yeah, and like we were saying, now do the Centaurs start to panic, right? It looks like we might be having a bathroom break. So yeah, I don't know if this is happening, but somebody has left the room, so we'll see what's happening there. And we'll just talk about that game for a little bit. I think Haru, right? Haru, Reyes, and even like Nerdy and Eric Kwang with the coalescences coming out from both of the Moiras, I feel like they put in the most work there.
Yeah, absolutely. Reyes has kind of been the surprise star for me so far on the Diva, because you mentioned those 3. We know Alex and we know Haru and we know Emblazon, but Reyes has almost made Emblazon a couple of times not matter. Yes, Alex and Haru are the ones getting the final blows and getting the eliminations, but Reyes is up in his face and might even be part of the reason we saw so little Pharah on 2 very good Pharah points.
Right, and this is the issue with players that specialize in one hero so well that it outshines everybody else, because as soon as that player's shut down, they don't really matter, right? So we have Reyes just constantly on him blazing, and because he can't play his Pharah as freely as he wants, he's not making as much of an impact, and that's very well played on the Green Knights, right? They recognized a weak point on the Centaurs, and they're exploiting it, and that's exactly what they should be doing, because now they're 2-0 on Horizon Lunar Colony, which, if I do believe, was a Green Knight picked map.
It was indeed. You know, we did the pick ban, and Hanamura and Volskaya were banned. So for the Lunar Colony to be picked, that was what they felt comfortable on out of that and Anubis. So we really have to see any strategies. I will say Aimbot has tried to pick up some of the slack. He has actually been having a very good series himself. But when you're trying to match against Haru and Alex, good just doesn't seem to be enough.
No, you need to be able to carry that team when one of your DPS is completely shut down, right? And everybody is doing such a good job on the Centaurs, right? Striker, like you were saying, Aimbot's doing really well. Striker has been putting in the work with those Mercy bombs, you know, finding 2-3 picks, you know, occasionally not finding anybody, but zoning out so much area that it's letting like Overbutt push in with the Winston. So as much as they're trying to work, at the moment it's a 5v6 game, and Blazing just needs to just step up, really. You know, he needs to find something to help his team, because right now Green Knights are just going to roll them.
Yeah, and you know, you said the Centaurs are playing well. I think the thing that has surprised me the most after seeing them struggle some in the semifinals is that the Green Knights as a team are playing absurdly well. Everyone on that team is showing up. We had some questions with D-Boy and Reyes maybe going a little too deep, but they have shown up in the last couple maps especially, and really trying to make this work.
Yeah, no, they definitely have. Both of the tanks on the Green Knights have been playing phenomenally. I think, like we were saying, Reyes, D-Boy's ultimates have been able to position themselves into a point where on Route 66, he had ulted and pushed, I believe he had pushed Mercybot into Reyes's ult, right? So there's clearly some level of coordination and communication going on between those two and setting those things up. Monk and Nerdy have been healing. They've been doing well. We had some questions about Monk on the first round of Route 66 on defense, because all they were doing was damage boosting Alex, which isn't the worst thing to do because Alex is a fantastic Widow. But when Alex isn't hitting those shots, at some point you got to go, I need to heal.
Yeah, but
we're
we
gonna-
are gonna. Oh, you got it, Navac. Go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to cut to a break real quick whilst we sort some stuff out, and we look forward to playing the rest of the games with everyone. teams resetting. These games have been rather long, and we're going back in now on Lunar Colony with it being 2-0 to the Green Knights, which again we were saying on that last match, we were worried this might happen for the or for the Centaurs, right? Because
Yeah, but hold on, Navac. We might have a bit of a pause, and then we can come back and.
Yeah, well, this pause is actually the perfect time for us to talk about that. So, what do you think? Do you think the Centaurs step up to the plate now and win all 3 games consecutively?
I think this first offense or first defense, it looks like it's gonna be the Centaurs on offense first. So the first offense here is gonna say a lot because how they react and how they come out of this break and really figure this out is going to be very important for the tone of this map.
Yeah. I mean, if they aren't able to find it and find the picks or even the win, then the set just goes to the Green Knights, right? And I think chat will agree, we all want to see some more Overwatch, right? We all want to see these teams play against each other more. These games, although is now 2-0, have been so close,
Absolutely. I mean, we went to second offenses on Route 66. We had like 89 to 89% at one point on point 3 of Nepal. This is one of the closest series that we've had so far.
Yeah,
and
it's
yeah.
It's been so close, and I just wanted to cut in there, and I do apologize, Vic. MercyBot is having some technical issues with their headphones, so hopefully that'll be sorted out and we'll be back into this game any second now. But Mercy not having any audio, probably not a good thing.
Probably not when you're a support. You need to heal. You need to see your people pinging, "I need healing." But we can still, talk about some of the stuff that we've seen so far in the series. We did talk a lot about it before break, and yet, while these maps have been so close, there has just been a slight difference in the way these two teams have played. The Green Knights as a team have stepped up so much so far in the series.
Yeah, they have stepped up, like you were saying, so much, and we were worried maybe that this was going to be one-sided, and I do believe that the Centaurs won last the preseason of EGFH. Am I correct on that one?
Yes, the Centaurs won the pilot season last season, so this is kind of a bit of a revenge.
Yeah. Well, I said on the retake that I thought this was going to go 3-2 to the Green Knights. I thought we were going to see maybe 3-1, 2-2.
My prediction's already out the window. I obviously wasn't on the preview show with you guys, but I was in the opinion of maybe even 3-1 Centaurs, kind of knowing how they played in the semis. So the Green Knights have apparently heard me somehow and said that's not happening.
Well, and when you have players like Reyes and D-Boy playing like they're like, it's hard to come through that, right? It's hard to defeat that with Reyes just hitting ult after ult. Positioning, Haru getting the Death Blossom like we touched on earlier. Although it didn't get any kills, it completely zoned them out on that last point on the pole. It's good.
Yeah, it really is. And we've talked a lot about kind of some of the struggles we've seen from the Centaurs, but we really do have to talk so much about what Reyes and Haru and Alex, kind of the big 3 so far from the Green Knights, have done.
Yeah. And what would you say they have done?
They have partially shut down Emblazon for the most part. I mean, Reyes' Diva has been so critical, and part of the reason Emblazon might not have played Pharah so much.
All right, and it looks like we are going to be getting back into that game. MercyBot joining back in, saying let's go in the chat. Going to ask both teams if they're ready now, and it looks like they might be. We're just kind of waiting to see on the side of the Centaurs.
It looks like, Mercy. If I'm MercyBot, I am ready to go. This is, if you think about it, backs to the wall, on the line. This is where you show up or you go home. So we are ready. We are going to get back into this, and Lunar Colony should start with a bang.
Yeah, and let's talk about this team composition coming out from the side of the Green Knights real quick. Alex on the Tracer, Haru on McCree. We see Mercy and Moira for the supports, and Reyes and D-Boy, of course, on that signature Diva Winston.
Yeah,
So-
I think Nerdy is trolling us right now, so I'm gonna wait until they're actually done with the assemble.
I think
Before-
we're gonna see the Moira pick cut. Yeah, there we go. This has been pretty much their standard comp for most of these games, right? They've switched some DPS around, but it's generally been Monk on Mercy or Zenyatta. Nerdy's always been on Moira, and Reyes and D-Boy on those tanks. So maybe they won't change around. I mean, they haven't lost the game, so don't fix what isn't broke. And
Yeah, absolutely. But when you look at, obviously 30 seconds to go until the Centaurs have to kind of lock in their picks. But I would love to see either Emblazon maybe go for the Winston if they want to run triple tank, or just see him fall back on some of the things we've seen him have success on. Maybe not the Pharah though. Against this
tank.
My spell is still upon you.
if they run the squad tank, I actually might be okay with this just because it doesn't give Haru and Alex as easy of shots.
Yeah, it doesn't. And there is so much help in quad tank with, of course, the Moiras there coming in with all of that mass healing that's going to be able to heal all of the tanks at once. Of course, when they run out of steam, it'll be a bit harder, but this initial push is going to be difficult. A huge flashbang coming out from Haru being up on the top there. Not managing to find any picks, but those stuns might have been just as much disruption as they needed. Nerdy getting picked up by the Overwatch charge there, which is not looking too good. They're going to have to try and regroup, retreat onto that point. Monk almost being hit by Emblazon's hook there. Haru does fall to Mercy block, but not before taking out Aimbot's mech. And this is a bold play coming out from the Centaurs with this quad tank. I don't think they were ready for it.
No, absolutely. And they had such a good strategy. They were waiting on the high ground. As soon as the Centaurs came around, they just all dropped. D-Boy was hitting like 2 or 3 people as the Winston. But like you said, so much health, so hard to contest quad tank. Because you can see Alex throws a pulse bomb. Mercy bot kind of jumped on the grenade for him, but it's still a very quick point A.
Yeah, very quick. In fact, 7 minutes on the clock to try and take in the second point is a lot of time. But anybody who plays Overwatch knows that 2 CP, this second point can be a pain to get because of how close the spawn is to the point itself, right? So
Yeah.
they're going to stay on that quad tank.
And this may be where quad tank is even more, because that may allow them to stay in some of these fights longer, where those DPS, when you drop low on health, wouldn't be able to get it. But Aimbot's actually switched over to the Reaper, so they're off of quad tank, and Emblazon is now on the far. They're back to standard.
Yeah, they are back to standard, and Blazing, of course, being on that signature fire. A big ult coming out from over, but not actually being able to find anybody. But, he scared somebody, I'm sure. And he is going to get cornered here from Alex and Aru. And we were talking about Alex also being able to play off tank or main tank. And we do see him on the Winston. They also switched to that quad tank to try and counter it. And this is looking really good for the Centaurs. In fact, they are going to be able to get one tick off this first push. And if it wasn't for Haru, we would have seen a lot more damage coming in. And Blazing is chilling up in the air. D-Boy's rather charged because Blazing shot through those shields. But as long as Zarya dies here, that shouldn't worry too much. Aimbot on the Reaper does manage to find D-Boy here with not too much coming out. Haru managing to pop that ult there, trying to push people off the point and force them into the rest of his team. We see Alex switching once again from the tank to the McCree, which is going to be pretty good. The ult coming out, it picks up 4 people. And fortunately, Monk on that Lucio manages to save a lot of the damage there by just booping away over, but
Well, and a key thing there, that was a great Graviton surge from Striker, but Emblazon got picked off by Alex. That was almost a perfect setup. Emblazon had Barrage. The Graviton Surge had multiple members. That was the dream for Afara. But once again, just shut down by a member of the Green Knights. And we actually, Reyes for a little bit there was actually on Tracer, now switching back over to a standard tank. As you said, it was a good first push, but now they've already used 2 minutes off that time bank for only 33%.
yeah, and still, 33%, again, we might not even see him take this point, right? So every little bit does matter depending on the hold coming out from the Green Knights. And Reyes, interestingly enough, there, charged, thinking they were going to drop down, trying to predict it, but he isn't going to be able to find it. Oh, and it kind of flicked him around to the front there by the looks of it, on the spectator fight at least. We see Reyes going down to Overbuck. we see Overbot going down to Reyes there. Managed to find a pick, and Blazing just staying in the sky. We see D-Boy trying to take him out with that Zarya cannon, putting out those shields when they can. And we see a Zarya coming out from D-Boy, managing to pick up in Blazing, but nobody there to capitalize on that pick.
Yeah, but you're seeing start to come into play what we were talking about with how quickly the defense can come back after suffering those losses, because Aimbot has been trying to do work, but he went down. He's actually switched over to the Soldier 76, and Emblazon, look how long it takes Emblazon to get back towards this point after dying.
Yeah, it takes him, what, I'd say about 15, 20 seconds if we don't count the respawn time there. Alex finding a point, which is actually quite a big, or a chance, sorry, finding quite a big pick there. We see the blade coming out from Haru, but it isn't going to be able to find anybody as he does fall to aimbot, Mercybot, rezzing Eric Chang, and that's it. I mean, we see Moira almost at that goal level, right? And she could come into a big point here. The aimbot coming out from aimbot, as he does manage to find Nerdy, as Shatter coming out is blocked by the bubble from Overbar, and again that visor just came in. It's such a crucial moment. We see Alex up there, he doesn't have the high noon, so he's not going to be able to get a nice flank hit, and Blazing of course also seeing him, and that's going to be the point to the Centaurs. And Blazing never used that ultimate.
No, he used it at the end.
Yeah, he used it once they'd taken the point.
And he really didn't have to, and that's what's so key. We were kind of talking among ourselves during the break. Aimbot has kind of quietly, while Emblazon has struggled a little bit, had a much better point, or a much better attack on this map than we've seen recently. But Aimbot is continuing to actually probably be the best player on the map for the Centaurs.
Yeah, at least when it comes to the DPS, Aimbot has definitely been carrying that DPS weight around, right? Even on Route 66, he was finding the picks on as Widowmaker when Emblazing was completely shut down, and actually probably bought his team a lot of time.
Yeah, and we'll have to see now. They obviously had a plan on offense. The Centaurs, 3 minutes in the time bank is very respectable. Even if that second point took 4 minutes to cap, that's still of overall very respectable time bank. Now, is their defensive plan as strong as their offensive plan? Because Navac, we have to keep going back to it. The Green Knights picked this map.
They did pick this map, and like we were saying, we were a little bit confused because we, as commentators and looking over the stats, had no clue that the Green Knights played Lunar Colony. Alex playing Widowmaker, Anubis would have been a perfectly good map for him.
And it is interesting to see that right now with 30 seconds to kind of play around with it, he is hovering the Widow. Obviously, some of the sight lines, as we've seen in things like the Overwatch League, are still very good for Widow on Lunar Colony, but they aren't as obvious as they are on like Anubis.
Right, which is a good and a bad thing, because once you know them, then it's a very good thing if the enemy team doesn't know them. And I think this attack, this first initial push, is going to come down to Alex finding aimbot pretty much as soon as they come around the corner.
And Blazon is actually on a Roadhog. I just noticed that Striker has gone on to the Junkrat, so they're switching it up in Haru already.
Yeah, and like I was just saying, Alex needs to find aimbot, right? He needs to deal with that soldier, because as long as that soldier's on the high ground, you're not going to win this push. Because he's just going to build
Powered up.
And we see a few things happening here with aimbot actually getting pushed down by the tanks. D-Boy and Reyes pushing up, of course, being able to force a lot of pressure and cause him to back out. And we do see Emblazing getting pushed into that corner, maybe even catching Reyes out there a little bit low on that mech. They're going to run it back. We see Monk popping the ultimate, or sorry, popping the res to bring Mercy back. And aimbot finding Haru and Striker on that point. They pushed up maybe a little bit too far without their tanks.
Yeah, Haru went for an interesting little flank there. Actually walked pretty much right up to Mercybot and just took the Mercy down. So that was a bit of an interesting play. But as you said, they have to find a way to maybe kill aimbot. Alex kind of finally took him out, but doing so much work right now, and just the team as a whole, the Centaurs, this is almost a completely different team than what we saw in the first two maps.
Right, and yeah, I mean, what we need is the Green Knights to find a pick, right? It doesn't matter what pick, as long as it's a healer or a DPS. The tanks right now, although important, are not what's keeping this team alive, right? Junkrat spamming all of those bombs makes it incredibly difficult to try and get any form of push or territory or make ground because he's going to deny it. Even with the Orisa shield, it's going to drop so quickly with the Roadhog firing into it along with the Junkrat that this whole hog's just going to be able to completely deny them any form of ground.
Yeah, and something to note is how much Haru has kind of had a rough time so far as another fight's boiling, but the Coalescence comes out, and Aimbot using that visor is just going to be able to shred.
Yeah, with the supercharger, I mean, nothing's more scary than a damage-boosted soldier running visor, and Aimbot definitely proves that as he manages to kind of fair a few picks. Alex actually finding 3 there, which was looking really good with Reyes flanking up behind it. It's a Roadhog v Roadhog, little fight going on, jumping about, shooting some shotguns. The whole hog's actually pushed to try and get some of the points.
Yeah, they're just trying to do what they can to hold. They're actually going to get 33%, and the way Emblazon's playing this, it almost looks like they're giving this, or taking a very long path.
Yeah, and like you were saying, Haru actually used his Riptire to deny Striker of a Riptire as well. So they're really trying whatever they can here to make this round. The Coalescence coming out from Nerdy is going to make it very hard to try and deal with that Roadhog because they're constantly going to be getting killed. Striker and Aimbot still on that point, but Striker should fall fairly quickly with a Moira chasing after them, and it looks like they are going to be able to cap it.
Yeah, that was a very weird kind of final defense to me from the Centaurs. And Blazon was alone for so long on that point. But now, this is 2 minutes less than what the Centaurs had, and we saw how much they kind of struggled taking this second point. And Aimbot's actually switched over to the Widow, so he is willing and ready for these Widow games.
Yeah, and with Eric Chung, they're getting picked off. She's not going to be able to do much. And it's so close, and they might actually get this point on the first push. It's so close if nobody contests, and we do see Emblazing just managing to save that point with the full hog, pushing them off of the point. But they haven't been dealt with. Haru popping that Riptire could be what they need, but it doesn't matter because Emblazing turns that corner, sees it, destroys it, and keeps his team alive.
Yeah, but Haru has actually been doing work. I guess I just needed to say he was having a rough offense because he has gone off recently. He is finally going to fall. And as you said, the offense is finally stopped at 2 ticks. But they got those 2 ticks so fast. The issue is now, though, how fast the Centaurs completed this. They're still almost equal in time bank.
Right, and if we look at ult economy-wise, all the Centaurs have is Mercy Bot, right? We see Alex popping that ult. They know exactly where everybody is. With Nerdy and Monk both having their support ultimates, they have so much pressure that they can apply just by the sheer amount of healing and extra health generated by that sound barrier. And the supercharger coming out. You've got to play so well. If nobody contests, they're going to see 9, but we do see everyone popping that ult, but it doesn't matter because Harry's going to rough out the Riptire. It is going to kill Harry Chandler with nobody being able to contest it. That's going to be the point to them with time to spare in the time bank.
How, Navac, did the Green Knights complete that map with more time than we saw the Centaurs? It took them 2 full minutes longer to cap point A, but the sheer momentum that they seem to get finally snapped their offense to life, and I am actually amazed with how well the Green Knights all series have used momentum to snowball these maps.
Enough waiting around. Hello.
Yeah, I mean, momentum's the name of the game, right? If you can snowball out of control, like we just saw the Green Knights do, right? They struggled for a little bit. We saw that weird. Let's just highlight this real quick. That first point, the finishing fight, was very peculiar because it ended with Alex and Reyes being the last 2 standing. Alex finds 3 picks on the Widow, leaving just Reyes and I do want to say Overbutt on the point.
Actually,
Oh, it was no, Emblazing was the Roadhog. You are 100% correct. So we see Emblazing and Reyes left on the point, and then Reyes in that fight manages to get his whole hog and uses the whole hog to force him off the point so they could start capping it. So the 2 key players there were Alex and Reyes, and I would argue that they allowed their team to snowball to the second point.
Do you see where Alex is set up on this Widow? This is actually a really cool defensive Widow spot. But we actually see Emblazon, he's now on the soldier. Aimbot has gone over to Genji. And this is surprising considering how well 4-tank worked. They don't think it'll work if it's expected.
Right, and I don't know if it would have worked because they did decide to start off with that junk trap, which is going to cause an issue for a 4 tank, right? You have so much body space that most of those mines are going to be hitting you. And they just jump in. We see Zenyatta there finding Nerdy, Monk, rezzing up Moira. Very, very good pick, I think, there. Coming out from Haru. With getting that Zenyatta being down, he's not going to be able to build that Transcendence even more, which is going to just slow down their entire pushes together, but it doesn't matter because they are able to find pick after pick, and Blazing getting Reyes and Haru.
Pardon me.
That's the first point. They can't get there in time.
Yeah, something about point A in the Centaurs apparently, because that was, it looked weird at first. They were flanking, but flanking from 2 or 3 different directions. But the fact that Eric Chang, she was able to pick off, I believe Monk almost immediately, or Nerdy, forced the res and able to do work. Haru finds aimbot with a quick riptire, but still, that point A offense was actually really cohesive once again from the Centaurs.
Yeah, I mean, it was cohesive, and they managed to take the point very quickly. And I think a lot of that came down to that initial pick from Eric Chang, right? She managed to find the pick on Nerdy that forced the res out, which then delayed all of the healing, because if your other support's dead and your Mercy's rezzing, nobody's healing. And we see a lot of ults being popped out, and Blazing actually falling to Alex after popping that visor. Overbar and Striker both jumping on Alex. They know they need to push him out and not let him get comfortable, because as soon as he gets comfortable, then your Mercy bot isn't living.
Yeah, and Reyes was just trying to keep Emblazon off. This has been such a stellar offense. It's Haru is just finding death after death. That was a minute and a half offense.
You know, we were skeptical when Lunar Colony was picked by the Green Knights. I'm still skeptical why it was picked by the Green Knights, but it's been a good map.
It has, and really this map kind of shows a microcosm of this series. Both teams, if their initial plan works, it goes very cleanly. Both teams have struggled a bit to adapt quickly enough during a map, and yet as soon as the next point is ready, both teams have adapted again.
Yeah, and they readapt. And it's not even big sweeping changes, right? At least not on the side of the Green Knights. They're keeping with their core, right? They're keeping with their supports, their supports and their tanks, and they're just kind of switching around their DPS. As I say that, we do see Monk on Zenyatta and Nerdy off of the Moira for the first time. So, okay, maybe, you know, we still have that core though, right? We still have at least a Mercy, a D.Va, and a Winston. Those are like the 3 core they're always playing with them. But then on the side of the Centaurs, they've kind of been all over the place. Who's playing what, when they're playing what, like what role they're playing when, you know.
I'm pretty sure the only concrete one is Mercybot has played a healer and Aimbot has played DPS. I think that's the only thing that's been constant.
No, because we saw Aimbot on a tank for a little while.
That was 1 point now, Vic.
But it still happened, right? So all I'm saying, they're all over the place, and it is somewhat working for them. If they don't know who's playing what, then how will the enemy team? And with Nerdy and Haru running that Far Mercy, which we did see them run a little bit on Nepal, and it was absolutely devastating. So maybe they're bringing that back, you know, trying to just show that they're not the only Pharah, or Blazing's not the only Pharah around that can do plenty of work.
I do question Pharah a little bit on Lunar Colony. While there's a lot of room to maneuver, you don't have as many sight lines to actually get your attacks down onto the enemy team. And when you're going against both a soldier and a Genji, it is very difficult to make this Pharah work. And Aimbot is just kind of trying to get into the back lines, it looks like, trying to flank around, and finally coming in.
Oh, and that was very unfortunate for D-Boy and Nerdy. Nerdy flying back to D-Boy as D-Boy leaped in, took the hook, died, and Nerdy tried to turn around and fly to him to heal him, and then proceeded to die as well. So we need to see the Green Knights grouping back up and just healing each other, and, you know, making sure they're a bit more tight-knit, because at the moment they're so spread out. It's kind of getting them picked off one by one, like Alex falling to him, Blazing there outside in space.
Yeah, and already this timer, it's 1:52, and normally you're like, yeah, that's okay, they still have plenty of time, but they're only 20 seconds up right now, and they still have to complete the map. Like, if they can't get past this point, in the next minute, is going to be very, very difficult. Finding aimbot, though, is a nice start.
And they wasted about 10 seconds there outside. It looks like they think somebody's out there, but nobody's out there. With the ult coming out from Alex, of course, we do see plenty of ults on both sides, but I think we need to highlight a couple ults right now, and that's going to be Monk's Transcendence with Haru's Barrage. I feel like if they can set both of them up together, and Striker, nor Aimbot, has the chance to jump on them with D-Boy's Primal Rage, I think that's the only way they really take the point if we're going purely off ults.
Yeah, but we also have to look at Emblazon's Tac Visor and Aimbot's Dragon Blade, because both of those can allow them to get into the back line. That's a nice way to start, but now we're seeing it kick off.
Yeah, and here we see the res coming out from Haru, which they are able to get, so if a nice barrage comes out there without them realizing it, but it isn't going to matter because Whole Hog just manages to shred apart Haru as soon as he respawns, and Emblazing deals with the rest of the team. And with 30 seconds left, they have maybe a push. Well, they have a push, maybe two if it's quick, but that I think that's pushing it.
Yeah, and apparently we were both wrong, because Overbutt's Supercharger was the most important ultimate there for the Centaurs, because that powered up everything in that area. It made the Tac Visor and the Whole Hog so key.
Yeah, I think when we were talking about it, the Haru jumping in immediately, popping the ultimate, but Striker finds him. He does manage to find Mercy Bot, but I don't know if that's going to be enough, even with the res from Haru here. This could be the most important ultimate Reyes has thrown out today, as it does manage to find Striker, which is going to be very useful. Alex falling, and it looks like they are going to be able to get the point, but they are in overtime, so it's going to be 30 seconds to take this next point.
Yeah, it looks like they should finally take this. The big key there was Mercy Bot went down immediately, wasn't able to res anybody, so even though Nerdy fell early, the fact that Nerdy was able to res Haru meant that that fight was still in favor of the Green Knights.
Yeah, and with the Green Knights only having 30 seconds now, they literally cannot stop. This is the push, right? This is it. If they don't get this, then we see the first map being taken by the Centaurs, and we get to watch more Overwatch.
Well, and even if they take this, there's a minute and 22, so they have to take this and be ready for the defense immediately.
Yeah, and block A point, which is something that they struggled with. So they really have to prove themselves here. Haru finding aimbot should be what they need to start off with, though. Haru getting 2 picks off. It is into the overtime now. Nobody's focusing on Nerdy, as a huge transcendence from Monk here could be exactly what they need. Overbutt's going to have to jump up, and we hear the visor being popped up by Emblazing. If they're not able to stop it in time, then it's not going to be enough, because they are going to fall one by one. Aimbot manages to find Bunk. Emblazing managed to find Nerdy. We see a Diva Bomb coming out from Reyes. They're not managing to find anybody, but did put some pressure onto the point, but it's not going to be enough, as we see tank after tank jumping onto this point, trying to delay it, trying to bring more of the team in. Alex does fall to Emblazing, and then we see D-Boy fall to the dash from Aimbot.
And the key there, Navac, was Aimbot died kind of early, but Emblazon was untouched, I think, in that entire final fight. Was able to get the Tac Visor, and as you said, used it to great success. I'm curious to see what play this is. Oh, and this is kind of the one we were talking about in what ended up being the final, I think, defense, or the Supercharger Roadhog.
Yeah, and we saw the res. He killed Haru. Res came out, killed Haru.
And that was absurd. Emblazon had 48 eliminations on that map.
Feel appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really say anything other than 48 eliminations, can you? That was some fantastic gameplay from both of them, and I don't know if they're asking for another bathroom break.
It's their secret strat, Navac. It is.
Yeah. We're going back to a break, and we will be back any second now
with King Dro.
EGFH.
Oh.
boy, am I excited, Vic. I don't know about you, but I love King's Row.
And this is the map, Navac, that we've really kind of been waiting for. We saw this was map 4, and both of us kind of did the same thing. We're like, oh, we hope we get to map 4. Because if any map is going to set the tone for either the continuation of the possible reverse sweep or the ending of this map, it is King's Row. It has been stated by players of the Centaurs that this is by far their favorite and probably their best map.
Right, and when you're behind as the Centaurs, you want this map, right? This is like your lifesaver. This is your lifeline. If they lose on this map that they have stated they are so confident on, then they do not deserve to win, right? Because if this is you claiming this to be your best map and you lose it, you need to go back to the drawing board.
Or it just shows that maybe you were the second best team on that day. But we'll get to see their defense first. So that's kind of something unusual. We've normally been seeing the Green Knights attack, second. So seeing their first attack, knowing what the Centaurs may know what they need to do, could very well be helpful here.
And we were talking about picks and bans, right? And we were very surprised when they were doing the map picks and bans that the Green Knights didn't ban King's Row, because everybody knows that this is the Centaurs' best map. So, do the Green Knights have something that we don't know about that they are about to show off?
Well, when it starts off, it seems like with Reyes actually on Reinhardt and not on the Diva. So, at first look, that's not a massive switch, and then you realize Emblazon is on Pharah, and that not having Diva could be very key. Also, aimbot is back. He was back on the Widow for a second.
And I said this to you when we were talking just in that break, that Alex is going to be so crucial, and I think he's confident enough on Widowmaker to give the Centaurs a run for their money on this map. And boy, does he. He already has his ultimate. He found 4 picks in that fight.
Yeah, they didn't just give the Centaurs a run for the money on this map. They've already taken point A, as aimbot's going to get found again. So we're seeing Emblazon. He understands. He's switched over to the Soldier. This is what worked so well on Lunar Colony. So I'm curious that aimbot is staking to the Widow for now, but he really even hadn't gotten to fire a shot. So maybe he thinks he can still have it.
They came around that corner and he was picked instantly. And, unfortunately, that's Widow v Widow nature, right? You have a few shots at each other, or one of you just dies instantly and you're walking back from your spawn point. So we're going to see a few people pushed up a little bit. I don't think too far, right? Because Haru's trying to build that blade up as quickly as they can, so Haru and D-Boy can get that one-bow combo. Aimbot does find the pick on Alex, which could be what they need to initiate this fight. Overbutt is going to look for something. We see the charge coming out, and he does get caught out. Haru bringing out that ultimate there. There's no answer for it with a big hammer down. We do see Air Tank falling to Haru's blade. He's going to look for a couple more picks, but Aimbot managing to hit him in that head during the flip animation of the blade turning away. So that was a shot.
Yeah, but even with that, the Centaurs are playing so far back. This has been almost an uncontested 90 meters. I don't know the last time I've seen somebody, as the Graviton Surge is just going to catch everyone, it seems like.
Alex just grappling hooking onto that ground there, and just managing to find a pick almost instantly onto aimbot, which is very unfortunate. We are going to see aimbot respawning and instantly popping that ultimate, making sure that everybody knows where everybody is, right? Forcing them to run back and regroup for the rest of their team. You can't play so aggressively when they know where you are.
No, and the Green Knight's kind of finally being stopped here, but you have to agree with me, Navac, that that's some of the quickest I've seen get through the streets phase on King's Row.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I forgot we were on the streets phase. It went that quickly. They've almost capped the point once again, and we see the ult coming out from Alex this time, which means they know Emblazon's on that high ground, and they're probably going to look to contest him as quickly as they can. We're going to hear that visor being popped right now as he jumps onto the coalescence being popped, and Blazing thing way too aggressively, as Overbutt does manage to find that pick on D-Boy, which could be very useful. No Graviton though. The Transcendence coming out literally a split second too late. It was just about to start healing Overbutt when he got picked. Striker falling to Alex, and they're gonna have to give him this point here.
Yeah, and we talked about already how we really questioned during the pick ban and King's Row being left up, but we also mentioned that everyone probably knew that King's Row was going to be picked if it was up. So does that lead to an advantage for a team that can prepare for it? And Alex, if he's the one calling some of these shots on the pick ban, he said, you know, give me King's Row, and I will give you Widow.
And boy, is he giving them Widow. And Blazing's looking to try and get that pick right now, but with the vision coming out, it's going to be very difficult for him to even get a peek onto Alex before a shot is being fired towards his head. We see Reyes and Overbot, of course, having that little duel. The Zarya shield saving Overbot, and we do see an Earth Shadow. We hear the blade coming out from Haru. It does manage to find one, and it is going to be immediately looking for Mercy up into the sky. She dashes just past him in time, but it doesn't matter because Alex is ready, waiting to take that shot. And if Striker can't delay it for any longer, then it's not going to matter because they're going to take the point. Look at that time. I just want to take a minute to highlight 0.00 meters. That is on the point.
Yeah, it's on the point, but it still has to move a little bit, and they almost got off. Mercybot just trying, but can't hold for long enough. That is one of the fastest King Row offenses I can remember, Navac.
What are you going to do when you have somebody like Alex on the high ground there getting pick after pick after pick? If you can't come around the corner without losing 2 of your players, how are you going to defend?
Absolutely, you are right. And now we mentioned that it might have been beneficial for the Centaurs to have the second chance at offense because they know what they have to do. But this is when that might be a hindrance because now they know what they're up against.
And if you're the Centaurs right now, you go into this map like we were saying, right? Like, this is our best map, right? We're going to stomp. How demoralized are you mentally when the exact opposite of what you thought was going to happen just happens to you?
I think you can't be demoralized. You would think that's the natural reaction here. You just lost on arguably your best map, but you cannot let yourself get demoralized. This is map 4 of the grand finals. You have played so much Overwatch this season that if you let one offense get to you, then that's not the way to be looking at this mentally.
No, it's not at all, but it is something to be questioning on the side of the Centaurs. And yeah, on the side of the Centaurs. Sorry, the team colors confused me for a second there. And it's one of those things where we're gonna have to try and see how they perform now to see if it has gotten to them.
So I'd like to point out the Green Knights have a Widow, but it's not Alex.
This is interesting. We saw Reyes actually on the start of this prep phase pick Widow from Alex. So I wonder if they were having a bit of a joke and Harry was like, no, I'm staying on it.
I don't know, but it does lead to Alex on Zarya and running a 3-tank defense against a 4-tank offense. So, what DPS?
Maybe this is what we were talking about, though. Like, we were saying that maybe the Green Knights have something we don't know about, and maybe it's Haru's Widow.
Well, the offense has just run right in. They've gotten a tick and a half without as much of a question, but they do get the first blood, except, the Green Knights are...
They didn't get second or third blood, but we do see a res coming out, and I think this is going to be the turn of the fight here, right? That res, bringing back Reyes is probably exactly what they need to turn this fight around. D-Boy's whole hog actually finding Striker and over, but it's going to be absolutely huge as they manage to clear up the rest of the fight. And you're right, they did give him a tick and a half, but because they managed to defend that fight, it was only 1 tick. 3 minutes left on the clock is plenty of time.
Haru and D-Boy both got ults in that fight. That was like 1 minute ult charges from both of them. Alex is about to have Graviton Surge. This is no longer an easy offense for the Centaurs.
Yeah, and we see them now organize those ultimates together. The Graviton Surge comes out, and they are going to be able to find a couple picks here. The hammer down coming from Overbot, though, behind everybody. D-Boy actually was saved by... Reyes being sneaky, coming up behind them with the hammer down. Nobody expects the sneaky Reinhardt, right? Because he's a big hulking man, and if you're not communicating where he is after he gets a pick and you lose track of him, if he comes up behind you and hammers down and you're not aware of it, you're gonna lose a few people.
I've now seen Reyes flank on Reinhardt and Haru flank on McCree in this series. I don't know what a flank is anymore, but this seems to be the go button for the Centaurs.
Yeah, and we see the Graviton Surge swing out there. As soon as Reyes was about to charge, Overbot was waiting for it and immediately ulted, which actually might give him the point here. But they were about, I'd say, what, about a minute slower than the Green Knights.
And Haru's still alive. I don't think he's died yet. Well, now he has, but he took 3 people with him.
And you know what? That's a lot of people to take before you die.
And yeah, you mentioned the time. They only have 4 minutes on the time bank now.
Right, and you mentioned streets last round. Now, we might actually get to see some streets fights this time, instead of it just being just a stroll through the streets.
And that is a bad sign for the Centaurs, because if they don't get a stroll through the streets, then they are going to already, like you said, they're like a minute and a half behind time already. If they don't get that stroll through the streets, that could be another 2 minutes off the time bank.
It definitely could be, and with Alex getting closer to that Graviton and D-Boy having that, we might see the blender coming out. Aimbot just sitting up there, a bit uncontested. It has caught the sight of Alex as he's trying to harass him out with those nades. And that was a lovely fire strike coming out from Reyes, actually managing to find him. That's a 3-man Graviton Surge. The Zarya bubble actually does manage to save Striker there. It's not enough for Mercy Bot, and with Striker at about 100% charge, it doesn't matter, as Alex manages to find him there, and blazing up in the sky, he has switched over to that Pharah. So maybe this is now where Haru and Alex switch it over. But Alex has been doing wonderfully on that Zarya, making those picks. Both coalescences coming out, the healing, damaging. It comes down to who can aim better for what they need. And then Blazing's just harassing them. They don't have much to deal with them if Haru isn't able to get that pick.
Yeah, absolutely, and it takes out Nerdy and Alex, and yes, Haru won the Widow duel, but the Widow duel doesn't matter when the rest of your team is not there.
Yeah, and even though now they're starting to be able to gain some ground on streets, that initial minute, it was about a minute, 2 minutes that it took them to push into that initial fight. It's going to cost them even more time. They're going to have about 4 minutes when they come into this last point.
Yeah, they are getting their ult economy up. Striker is almost at that Graviton, and then Blazing is already about 2/3 of the way to another, but they're looking for a fight before that can happen.
Right, because again, every second, it doesn't even matter if they, it does matter if they all die now, but it's less impactful if they all die now, if they come back one by one to some extent, because they can hold this upcoming corner so well on a slightly staggered respawn. And Haru's just looking to build ultimate, right now. I think they're kind of dying to some extent to build ult. As I said, that D-Boy ulted, so I think they were just trying to contest. But yeah, there you go. They already have less time than the Green Knights whilst taking this point, and they still got about 33% of the map to take.
And Emblazon a little too far forward, and now Alex is back on the Widow. Haru's decided enough's enough, and he is back on the McCree, and it's already working lovely.
Yeah, Alex finds 2 picks straight off of the bat, and Reyes is not afraid of the Reinhardt, right? He's just going in, swinging his hammer around. He isn't too scared. It did cost him his life, but he knows he's going to get rest by something. You see Blazing doing an interesting ult there, and Coalescence being popped, which is going to force them back a little bit, but with this Widow Ultra Sight coming, they might, if Alex can find 2 picks, which he does on Blazing, so now if he can find aimbot, they're just having a good time.
Yeah, they do get the res out. Mercy Bot able to bring back the far, but once again, Alex, the sights are set. Dial it in. The Widow is having a field day.
And like we were saying, maybe Haru was having a bit of a laugh with Alex, and the last point was like, okay, you can play your Widow now. And Haru does have that Deadeye that has been so impactful at these last couple matches that even if it doesn't find anybody, it's giving them the ground to regroup and get set back together. Overbuff but being caught out a little bit, but not as much as Reyes as he just gets charged. Was shielded by D-Boy, which is going to give that Zarya so much charge that I'd be scared as a tank.
And Reyes finally kind of dies to the environment more than anything. And Aimbot answering back immediately, getting 2 kills of their own. And with 1 minute and 40 left, this should at least be a successful push. So we'll see second offenses as Emblazon is just playing gatekeeper.
Actually, but okay, I thought for a second that Reyes might have been able to do something, but yeah, we are going to see another round.
Now, we saw such a good offense from the Green Knights in that first round. What kind of change can the Centaurs make? Now, I know we're going to see the Centaurs back on offense first, but we still have to talk about the fact that the Green Knights have double the time of the Centaurs.
Right, and you also need to remember that on defense, Alex wasn't even running the Widowmaker for most of that round.
Yeah, and the other thing, the thing to look at, and it looks like they are going to kind of, quote unquote, kind of take it seriously as Alex is on the Widow. Haru's actually on a Junkrat, so they're just looking to force the Centaurs to go through so much damage just to get to point that they might not even be able to get anything in this minute and 30.
Yeah, no, this could be a very good pick. Junkrat's already a good pick on this map, right? Because you can deny so much, you can get up onto those high grounds, just kind of spam away. But with how aggressive Overbutt's been playing in some cases, if he gets caught in a trap, then he dies, right? With the damage coming out from Alex, Haru, and even Reyes' charge on top of that, he dies. You lose your shield, and then Alex is just having a good time. But they are going to run that quad tank into this first point, and maybe that's what they need to do.
Yeah, but we talked about it on Lunar Colony. Quad tank into a Junkrat doesn't necessarily feel great sometimes, so we'll have to see how successful this can really be.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of it comes down to how quickly Striker gets charged up, and that's Haru going down. He does immediately get rezzed, and he is already up to 60% of his ult, and Blazing's jumping onto Alex, and this is what we were talking about, map 2 and 3. We need to see him Blazing on that Winston, jumping on Alex when Alex is going off, because that's their biggest weakness. Reyes deciding to run, and this is going to be a very quick point for the Centaurs.
This is a faster point they take than their first offense, even though they ran practically the same composition. They changed around what tanks they were running, but still the quad tank worked even better this time.
Well, the difference this time as well is that they just jumped onto Alex, right? They didn't let Alex, they gave Alex way too much room, and you got one too many picks to the point where that whole comp just fell apart.
And another interesting thing to note, it's aimbot on Pharah now, and Blazing's gonna stay on the Winston.
Right, because and we were talking about this earlier, me and you, and Blazing can play a really strong Winston, and we know Aimbot can play Pharah, right? He may not be able to play it to the caliber of Blazing, but as long as he's raining down AoE...
Haru's flanking with the tire.
Well, if that's what works, then that's what works. And it is able to find Striker in their tank, which is going to be absolutely huge. And we hear the overtime coming out. We see D-Boy 100% charged there. Going to be melting through those tanks right now. If Blazing can't move out of the way, we see the Primal Rage being popped, but he almost C9. He decided, he realized at the time Coalescence coming out, he's not going to be able to get it, and that's going to be the point coming down because Striker's not going to be able to get there in time.
No, and that all started with Haru's flank. It took down both Erachang and I believe Striker just instantly. They were done. And, you know, a point and 43 meters, that's not really that difficult when you have 3.5 minutes. I'm pretty sure the Green Knights finished the map in 3.5 minutes last time they were on offense.
Yeah, they did actually. So it's definitely going to be interesting. Now, Alex is switching over to that Bastion. Maybe they think that Emblazing's going to stay on that Winston and just keep diving him. But when it comes down to it, they have a lot of time. The Green Knights have a lot of time to move the point. Of course, they have to capture that first point. But if they can get that done quickly, then this could be the end of the series.
Yeah, this feels like it's going to have to be a Herculean defense, Navac. I don't know about you, but 3.5 minutes to protect 3 ticks and 43 meters seems very, very difficult, especially when we've seen these teams' adjustments lead to very strong offenses. Both teams' offenses today have really been very, very strong.
And we see Haru actually on Hanzo, which means that they're going to be running double sniper for this. Probably looking for that Zarya...
they would have taken Blazing out of the sky.
Yeah, but the Zarya Hanzo combo there, if they manage to get a few picks and get some dragons in there, you can't block dragons with D.Va once the dragons are out, right? Like, it's unblockable. So if they're all caught out, then that's not looking good for them. But you know what is looking good for them? Aimbot getting that pick on Alex, right? That's going to be very good for... And it's going to be very good for them even with the res coming out. Alex picking up and Blazing, though, we need to see Aimbot finding Alex again, because if that happens, then I think this is just going to go to the Green Knights.
Yeah, this defense is pretty much falling apart, I would imagine, unless they're able to do this, actually. They've turned this around, and they should be able to at least hold this, if not get another kill or two here. So, excuse me, they didn't even get a tick. I might have agreed with you. I kind of thought this offense was going to start pushing.
Yeah, Harry picking an interesting choice there, going the Torbjorn. I'm not really sure if Haru's just joking and messing about, because this could cost his team the game.
Yeah, but we see Alex taking down aimbot again. Haru's now back on the McCree. They still do have 2 minutes. This is still plenty of time for what they need to do. But Reyes being first dead is not good. And aimbot, they're just trading on these Widows.
Yeah, they need to group back up immediately, right? They saw Reyes just popped his Earth Shatter. And aimbot getting Monk there is going to be pretty big. They need to regroup instead of getting him 1 by 1 right now, because if they don't come as a unit, they're not going to take this point.
Yeah, Striker kind of falling, though, while he has Primal Rage, feels a little unnecessary. He kind of was further ahead of the team than I think he needed to be. And the Coalescence is going to come out. Mercybot's first down, though, and that's big.
Yeah, 2 big ults being used there with, of course, the D.Va Mech and the Blazing's Barrage. It's going to actually mean quite a bit here into this next fight. Even when Blazing finding 2, okay, maybe now that's being taken apart and they need to regroup again. I was going to say, even with them Blazing taking 2, as long as Reyes doesn't die, they should be able to hold this point. But of course, as soon as I was about to say that, we see Eri just taking out Reyes.
Yeah, and we actually see this is big to have Transcendence and Primal Rage. It's going to be very difficult in an extended fight to kind of take them out. And the fact that they're about to have their own Widow ult could matter, but Overbutt and Emblazing are the first to fall.
Yeah, and here we go. This is what we were talking about, right? These combo ultimates is going to be the most important thing for them. With 30 seconds left, they kind of have to win this fight for this to count. And that was a big Earth Shatter coming out, managing to find both of the supports of the Centaurs here. If D-Boy can melt down this D.Va Mech while still being healed, Alex is still not being dealt with, but he does get dealt with as soon as I say it by Striker, which is the most important thing that they could have done, and Blazing left in the sky. But he is very low to the ground, and Haru is a fairly scary Tracer when trapped in a room with.
Yeah, that felt like Emblazing might have been trying to just push overtime, but does it cost his team? He will probably have Barrage for this seemingly final fight as we're going to hit overtime. And the fact that the res has already had to come out because aimbot got a pick is big. And Haru.
Yeah, and Alex getting aimbot, like you were just saying, is actually just as important as aimbot getting Haru. The difference is that those are res coming out. And they're not contesting them. They get it so close to the point that maybe you think they left it for just a little bit too long with that aimbot coming out. And Blazing's going to be a target enemy #1 because they should know by now he almost has Barrage. This could be a huge... Oh, but the overtime coming out, they try and keep it, but they're not going to be able to.
Victory.
How, Navac, 3.5 minutes, 43 meters.
Yeah, they couldn't get it.
The King's Row, we didn't think it was going to happen after that first offense, but somehow, some way, the Centaurs win King's Row again.
Yeah, I mean, that was...
Just watch it, and you can see why that final fight was so clean. They had the communication. They knew exactly what they were doing. As soon as Striker jumped in, the rest of the team was with him.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. He was with him, and with Blazing just being able to get up into the sky there and rain justice from above, they were able to secure the point.
And Navac, now something that we thought we might have gotten to in the series, I don't think either of us expected it to get there in this way, but we are heading to map 5. We are heading to Dorado.
All right, and Dorado. Second to my heart to King's Row, right? King's Row, fantastic map. That was very close. It looked like it could have gone either way, and they were able to bring it to 2-2. So, again, they've done it, right? They were 2-0, and they've brought it back. And now this is the final map. They cannot tie on this map. Well, they can.
They can.
Very unlikely.
I'm pretty sure if
Right.
they tied on this map, Navik, we would
If they
both
tie
lose
on
on
that,
9.
if they tie on this map, I'm just going to bed because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. But okay, so let's hope that doesn't happen. But yes, this could go either way. Dorado again, a good Faro map, but also a good Widow map.
Yeah, and this is gonna be. This feels like a fitting final map for this series because it feels like it could fit to the strengths of both teams and the way both teams have adapted and really played off of each other this series. It feels fitting because Dorado is one of the really original,
Traveling
very
to
close
Dorado.
maps.
Yeah, and as I was saying, it's just anything can happen here. You know what? I was like, okay, you know, Green Knights have won, right? Like at that 2-0, I was like, okay, Green Knights have probably won. Congratulations, no matter who wins this game. I just want to congratulate both teams for playing so well. You know, bringing these matches have been so close, and for them to be able to go 2 and then 2 is, I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen, but the question is now, can they do what the Green Knights couldn't and go 3 in a row?
And right, and really, you have to think who has momentum because the Green Knights looked like they had momentum on Kings Row with that really fast first offense and looking like they were poised to take it. And then for the defense of the Centaurs to come up that big, you really have to wonder, was that enough to steal momentum away and make this possibly a
Attackers
very
incoming in
difficult
30
map for the Green
seconds.
Knights?
Optimal chance of survival.
Yeah. And on the side of the Green Knights, can the Green Knights just manage to hold such a strong
Enough
defense?
waiting around.
Because they definitely have the comp for it if Alex is finding those picks, right? And Alex, if Alex can get behind them onto the orange building and find them blazing pretty much immediately,
5,
then it's going to be very hard to recover. And it's,
one.
again, it comes down
Attackers
to
incoming.
one or two things, right? They're either going to hold this
Stop
point
the
so
payload.
well, or they're going to be able to just find pick after pick. And like I was saying about that orange building, everyone is checking it just in case anybody's there. Because if somebody is there and they don't know, they have free range over both of their DPS.
Yeah, and it's very important. And Blazing has already found shots onto both Haru and Alex, so taking them low is pretty key. And this Pharah has been so far proving quite useful, knocking them off of their high perch and kind of forcing them back into the square.
Yeah, and forcing them into that square is actually very useful because this is arguably one of the most difficult points on Dorado, right? This little choke here. It's very small. If you're not flanking them, then you're going to have a problem. And right now, they are flanking them. Aimbot and them blazing, both going around to that side, managing to find it. And Alex just can't find a pick right now. And it looks like this first point is going to go to the Centaurs.
Yeah, and Striker, we haven't talked about him as much. He kind of just been quietly a good tank this series. But since he's been on this Winston, kind of their last 2 times, he has been so confident with his jump-ins, and he has had the team behind him ready to go.
Yeah, and he has had that team behind him constantly. And I'm Blazing now managing to find that barrage, but Haru actually finds him Blazing. Alex pops that ult as soon as he gets it, of course. And if we look at the ult economies on both teams, the Centaurs here are getting ever so close to like most of their ultimates, whilst the Green Knights have used a couple of them. Some switches have kind of delayed them a little bit. So I'd say they're a little bit behind in the economy.
Oof, that's a big stagger as well. Striker was just kind of trying to stay alive, but the hook coming out from Reyes, and you mentioned that ult economy, but it's about to be 6 ult strong for the Centaurs. They're going to go ahead and use aimbots immediately, but with both Erichang and Overbutt getting closer, this could be the signal to push.
Heal me.
Yeah, it could definitely be that signal to push. And we do see Coalescence being popped out by Nerdy here, with Haru and Monk both flanking behind them because, I was going to say, because the Haru's getting
Heroes never die.
scarily close to that ultimate. Overbot actually making a mistake there and dashing, boosting into the shield and just stopping, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, and that was clean. And the big thing there for the Centaurs, they only had to use 2 ults. they used the Valkyrie and the self-destruct because of the fact that they were able to pick both Haru and Monk off. Aimbot just once again finding key phase, and he wins the Widow duel.
Peace be upon you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so back and forth between these two. And when Aimbot has lost, it's been catastrophic because Alex has just been able to get 3-4 picks. But when he wins, usually Monk just reses him and he isn't able to find much after killing Alex.
It is key though to get that res out. You really have to note that not having that res, if another pick were to come out, is very, very important. And once again, Haru has to switch off of Pharah without ever using the barrage.
Oh, yeah, which is definitely unfortunate there. And he's getting you the right pick. Again, we were talking about this on Lunar Colony with Alex and Haru both on flankers and Emblazing just sitting on Pharah. It doesn't work for them. They need Haru on that McCree.
Yeah, and they're just gonna dive right in. I mentioned Striker's been so aggressive, but this time he didn't have the team. Never mind, Emblazing Barrage.
Yeah, Blazing Barrage actually managing to find Dean Boy and Reyes, both of the tanks on for the Green Knights there, and that's going to be very unfortunate for them as Aimbot actually managed to find Monk and Haru as well, but only one person on the payload.
Yeah, it's not going to be the greatest push, but the fact that they pretty much got past this entire U portion and can see the finish is so key for that fight, because this time has actually been very strong so far.
Yeah, it's been very strong. And Aimbot, again, I stand corrected, maybe Aimbot heard me, but I was saying he wasn't being able to do much after killing Alex. And as soon as Alex switched off of Widowmaker, Aimbot's just been uncontested. He doesn't care. They are taking the lead. Yeah, it's very close. Oh, Haru's going to be able to hold it for a little bit, but that's going to be, oh, maybe not, as Alex jumps onto the point, but that recall, bringing it back just a little bit. They haven't spotted Nerdy yet, only Mercybot hasn't. He's going to be healing ever so slightly. They do find him though, and that's going to be the point.
Yeah, it's so hard, even with the spawn being that close, when you're following one by one by one like that, it just is so difficult to actually hold strong. And that was a very strong time. I can only think of one real point in that entire offense where the Green Knights pushed them back, and it was very early on, just after they took point one.
Yeah. They just kind of, I mean, I think that came down to Alex switching off of Widowmaker, and not even for the reason that maybe you're thinking, but just for the reason that nobody could contest Aimbot. Aimbot just aimbotted and just kind of went off, you know?
Yeah, I'm glad we're playing in a LAN environment, because otherwise someone checked that man's computer. He has been hitting everything recently.
Yeah, and finding pick after pick after pick after pick. And in those situations, that's what you want your Widowmaker doing, right? There's nothing worse than a Widow missing every shot, but there's nothing better than a Widow hitting every shot.
And I will say, we've seen the Green Knights offenses be very, very strong this entire series. I don't think either of us can rule the Green Knights out right now. That's a great time bank for the Centaurs, but I'm getting deja vu to Route 66 so far, because this already seems very familiar.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that one quite a bit, but maybe they've learned from their mistakes. We'll have to wait and see. This is, of course, I don't know if we've mentioned it, the final match of this set, and it's, I mean, again, whoever wins, both teams definitely have done what they can to deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely. Neither team should be disappointed with their effort tonight. This has been such an amazingly close final, back and forth, even on maps that have been won. It's been so back and forth. So really both teams playing, and this is another interesting defensive call by the Centaurs. Look at how late they're waiting to contest this.
Yeah, and Blazing isn't even going to be able to, actually I say that, he is able to get behind them a little bit, but not put enough pressure on, because Haru's actually denying airspace for the Pharah with those mines, and Blazing's not too happy about that. He does manage to find Haru with Alex on the Bastion. He has, ironically, we were talking about this when the map picks happened, and I said if we're going to see a Bastion, it's probably going to be like jokingly on Dorado.
Operating at
And
maximum
here we have
efficiency.
Alex on Bastion, on Dorado, and it's kind of working.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decent push. They didn't quite get point A, obviously, you know, as fast as the Centaurs were able to do, but because they've kind of been stopped in this square, and it does a lot with Emblazon and Aimbot kind of being behind. And once again, ult economy is in favor of the Centaurs as they're about to get their support ultimates, and they have both DPS ones.
Yeah, and like you were saying, we do see Overbot as well, with Mercybot immediately popping the wings there, and Overbot having the Earth Shatter. It's a big Earth Shatter, and the barrage follow-up is going to be absolutely huge, as Emblazon manages to find 3 picks there. Striker not worrying about picking up Alex, and Aimbot, of course, getting the Haru. I mean, what can we say? That was clean, right? Overbot and blazing communication there. There was clearly coordination. Pop that ult, pop the other ult, kill a bunch of people. Who's complaining?
Yeah, and you can see the effect that it had on the Green Knights. Alex is back now onto the Widow. Meanwhile, Aimbot is just deciding that no, he's the Widow now. Reyes is back on the Mercy, or on the Diva, excuse me. This is what you'd expect now. This is what worked for them on that Route 66 map, and it's probably what they needed to do because they've already lost 2 minutes.
Right, yeah, and they need to start taking ground now, right? Because if they can't even take this first point, then I mean they're not going to get it in time, right? If they get overtime right now, Time Bank might decide this match.
Oof, Alex, though, that's a good start.
Yeah, taking out Striker there is very key. They don't have many ults to follow up though, and in a dire situation, we just see Transcendence being popped and the whole team being healed to full. Aimbot getting up, there you go, exactly like I'm just saying, Aimbot, maybe that was a bit of a preemptive Transcendence, but it was able to keep him blazing up just long enough for him to try and make something happen. Unfortunately, he wasn't going to be able to, with Haru managing to find Aimbot and just harassing that backline as much as he can. Striker's trying as much as he can himself. Overbot managing to contest the point as we hear Alex's ult come out, and Monk just finds towards the point, popping those wings.
Yeah, but with Haru having Dragon Blade, that should clean up the fight here. It's a valiant effort, but the fact that Aimbot got taken solo and is actually now switched off of the Widow onto Tracer now, something we haven't seen in a few maps. It is going to be first point taken, but you're already looking that Time Bank. Oof. Alex funny, a nice little kill, but that Time Bank already, you have to think that's in the back of the mind right now.
Right, or maybe it's not in their mind at all and they just want to try and get it to the end, right? And worry about that at the time. It really depends on the mentality of the players. Now, with Aimbot trying to sneak up behind them and Blazing managing to find Harrow and Alex was actually going to be absolutely huge. Aimbot's onto that point, contesting him. A big charge coming out from Overbot, and it does actually hit D-Boy, who's going to be healed up fairly quickly by Nerdy.
Yeah, I find it interesting there. Monk didn't res at all, and maybe because both Aimbot and Haru went down, so they decided to save that. But it still makes me wonder why maybe you don't try and res one of them.
Maybe preparing for that next push, right? Because they're attacking right now. The point's not very far. You wait for it to be in a bit more of a crucial situation because you expect those fights to happen within 30 seconds. And Alex getting aimbot there is actually going to be really, really nice. We see the Diva Bomb coming out, but Overbot's going to be able to stop most of it from hitting his team. And Mercybot's just playing Foul Mercy right now with those wings out, not afraid to try and deal some damage.
Yeah, but Alex is being, you know, Alex right now, taking down Aimbot and Emblazon in quick succession. Actually feeling like forcing Aimbot. Oh my gosh, that Earth Shatter though.
That is what we call an Earth Shatter.
That was an earth-shattering Earth Shatter, Navac.
I mean, yeah. It was a big shadow, and Alex, again, still fairly uncontested. The striker finally decides to deal with him. But a couple quick consecutive headshots coming out from Diva there could have been absolutely huge. Overbot does fall, and they're going to be continuing to push this payload with Haru regrouping with Alex to protect him from Reyes.
Yeah,
no,
and
not from Reyes. Striker.
From Striker. And I mentioned Aimbot is now back on the Widow himself, so maybe feeling like needed that to counter Alex's Widow. And while this push is still, it is moving, you know, it's good, but they're at a minute, and they really need to keep making this speed up.
Right, but this is their first round, so as soon as they hit this next check mark, they are going to get some bonus time. right? It's gonna maybe not be enough. They're gonna still be in a minute deficit, but it is more time. And if they continue at the rate that they're currently going and aren't contested, then it should only take them about, I don't know, 40 seconds to get to where they need to go.
Yeah, and the fact that Alex won the Widow duel just now is very big because now Aimbot had to respawn and come back. They know where Alex is set up though, so this may be a chance to find something. But once again, Monk is just playing Pocket Mercy on damage boost.
And again, we see it work when Alex goes off, but if he's not going off, as I say, he gets a kill on Blazing, which is actually going to be absolutely huge for this next upcoming fight. Overbot charging onto that point, he's like, you know what? They are very uncontested and making a lot of ground. Maybe we just stop. And Nerf Shadow managing to find Reyes and Nerdy. He isn't going to be able to get a pick because we just see Monk healing, but Monk healing on that payload is going to be able to get Aimbot to be able to find 3 there. Alex, Monk, and Nerdy also all falling, which means there's going to be no healing on the side of the Green Knights, and that's not looking too good for them.
Yeah, Haru finds an exit kill, kind of one to Aimbot there. That was an interesting few seconds because it looked like Mercybot tried to run in Rez and Blazin and just got picked off by Alex, but it might have actually drawn Alex's attention because Aimbot's shot seemed to come out of nowhere, and now we mentioned 40 seconds if they keep their pace. Dragon Blade's gonna come out, but there's only a minute on the clock.
Yeah, and we might, I mean, with the amount of pressure and how close the respawn is, it might take him a minute just to get it around this corner.
Yeah, and we mentioned Dragon Blade came out and then Haru died, so that's not going to be up for a while, and Aimbot is just once again finding Alex, and this map has belonged to Aimbot's Widow.
30 seconds.
Yeah, which we wouldn't have been saying that a few maps ago at all, but the Centaurs right now are very pushed up, and I think they need to kind of fall back, regroup, maybe not get too aggressive. They do only have 15 seconds left though, and with them Blazing and Striker both having their ultimates, they can deny all the time in the world.
Aimbot's about to have his too. You're about to be able to see where the Green Knights are coming from. 5% more, so one good shot or just a couple more seconds. We'll have to see what comes first. This is the Green Knights saying we have to go now.
Yeah, and this is the fight that's going to decide this map right now. It's all going to come down to the ult usage coming out here, and with Wings and Coalescence both being popped out by the Green Knights, and Alex finding Aimbot, which is useful, but it could come down to Overbot and Striker managing to hold it for just one time. This is going to be a huge bomb because it is going to be able to pick up Dearboy even with the bubble shield coming out, and that's going to allow Overbot just manage to deny enough damage to get his ultimate up, and then Blazing does have Barrage, so getting enough distance here is so important. As long as he doesn't die, then it could be easy, but he does die. We hear the blade coming out from Haru, and with Mercybot popping that ult, just trying to keep Overbot alive, make sure he doesn't die. The res is coming out on him Blazing, and they're not going to be able to stop it. So all they have to do right now is deal with Reyes' mech, which Reyes decides to ult at the same time, which isn't going to be good for him. Blazing takes him out mid-air with the mini Diva gun, and that was a nice shot. Aimbot finds
Overtime's ticking though.
Yeah, and they almost just lost it right there. D-Boy managing to stay on that point for as long as he could, but this, I think this is going to be it. And, oh, Alex just saving it in time. They need to be doing everything they can to stay on this point. If Alex dies now, it's game over. And that's going to be the Centaurs winning the EGFH Season 1 Championship. Congratulations. What a game. What a set.
What a set. I don't think we could have asked for a better set to end this day. And Blazin, I'm curious to see which one it is, because he had a couple of really good far plays. I feel like this is the double pick here, though, that he
No, this
got.
was the quad pick. This was the quad pick with, or triple, sorry, with the use of the Earth Shatter. Team communication was so clear there that they just did such a wonderful job.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to applaud their mental ability to come back from down 2-0 on very close maps. You know, they really could have won either. So for them to be able to pull it back, start the reverse sweep, and then finish it on Dorado, when I started getting deja vu when overtime was ticking.
Yeah. What a wonderful set. Sadly, we are going to have to come to a close now with that. And I want to, and I'm sure Vic as well, we both want to thank you for listening to us casting, and especially for tuning into the finals. Congratulations once again to the Woodstock Academy Centaurs. you are the champions of of season 1 EGFH in Overwatch. This is the last series of the day, so once again, thank you for tuning in. You can follow us at official EGF on Twitter and Twitch for updates and announcements. This season wouldn't have been possible without the support of our sponsors, the Yukon Gaming Club, the Yukon School of Engineering, HyperX, and Controller Chaos for making this season possible. Be sure to check out the links below, and of course, you can type !sponsor in the chat to get those links. I have been Cavan Navac Dignan. You can find me on Twitter at Cavan Dignan. And Vic?
Yeah, and I have been Victor VicSharp Wattigny, and you can find me on Twitter at the VicSharp. Thank you for tuning in all season, and we will see you guys next season.